Lucknow edition of Design Debate. We are coming back to Lucknow after 4 years, and it's overwhelming to see all of you in person and the hall full to its capacity. I'm told there are people on the way and they'll be reaching here soon. We have more than 350 registrations, though we have aimed for 150. But yes, we are really humbled by the response we got in Lucknow. A huge round of applause for each one of you for being here today and helping us make this event possible. Last 2 years have been tough for us personally as well as professionally. The industry has witnessed the worst in known history, and hopefully we have left the worst behind us. Fortunately, we have all gathered here today to debate on future of design and how we can strike a balance between tradition and technology. Each year, technology strengthens its grip on our everyday lives. Despite this, there are those who appear to be hankering after simpler times, ditching smartphones for 3310 still, rediscovering vinyl, or logging off Facebook for good. But is this just a minority giving into pangs of nostalgia, or there is more to it? Perhaps it's a growing group. We have stumbled on something the rest of us haven't yet. Well, technology versus tradition, whenever this argument comes up, it's really tough to make a decision on which side you are, since both sides are have equally justifiable explanations. We at Architect and Interiors India wanted answers. So to settle things for once and for all, we pitted the Doins against the next gens to find who wins, tradition or technology. So let's hear it out from our esteemed panelists on which side they are. A big thank you to all our sponsors for believing in us and helping us put this physical events back to the industry. A big thank you to our presenting partner, Havels. Thanks, Partha, for partnering with us and helping us put this together. Fundamax, our category partner. Thanks, Nivedita. Duro, our exhibit partner. And Blue Star, of course, our HVAC partner.
Thank you, Mr. Indrajit. A big round of applause for him, the director of our company. President and BU Head, Professional Lighting, Havels India, to deliver the welcome address. A round of applause, please, guys. Whenever anyone walks on stage, we'll make them feel good too.
So very good evening to all of you. I think it's a full house. And thank you, Indrajit and Alisha, for a great curation of the program. And 350 registrations was interesting to know from Lucknow. So first of all, very warm welcome from the bottom of our hearts from the house of Havels to the city of Lucknow, the beautiful city, and so many people who are here from very exclusive category of architect community. And I think the first time when we were discussing with ITP about this program, we were very much excited with the curation of this, where we are able to very targetedly speak to all of you about what is new thing which we are able to do. So if you look around, Havels have been there in, I think, most of the aspects of your life. We've been touching, I think, a very large part of the Indian population with some or other offerings from our side. But specifically when it comes to lighting, light is life. I'm sure everybody believes. But now this has got further evolved to the next level. Now light is not only life, it is health also. And that is where we want to bring a little shift in the message which we want to communicate, that we have been able to evolve lighting to the next level where we are impacting your health. So it's not that we're using lighting only to see, but how better we see and how productively we see and how comfortably we see and how it affects our health better is what is the communication we want to make. So really, once again, a great welcome to all of you. and looking forward to a great event where we also go back with so much of learning and we plow in back to our drawing board to create more solutions. So thank you and great evening looking forward. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you, Mr. Karmakar. Let us now have a quick look at Havells India and what the company is all about.
Havells India presents Impressions, a range of superior glare-free architectural lighting solution, desired lux level. Havells Impressions range, the new paradigm of architectural lighting.
I'll move on to the next segment of our evening, and I think everyone's really quite excited for it. It is the felicitation of our lovely guest of honor, our lovely and patient Mr. Bhui sir. Born when the city was on the verge of independence, Mr. Bhui studied in the city of Chandigarh and was inspired by Le Corbusier's vision from a very young age. Professional training in the office of renowned Indian architect Charles Correa also contributed to his modernist bent of mind. This journey of learning still continues after years of having worked on projects of immense scale across the country. Having started his practice in 1968, he is still making waves in both the design and academic circles. And winning accolades from 1991, he is an incredibly respected member of the design fraternity in Lucknow. Please give it up for Mr. Dilbir Singh Bhui. Sirji, could you join us on stage for your felicitation? I would also like to call Mr. Nitin Anand, Joint Vice Presidential Sales, Havells India, to the stage for the felicitation. A round of applause for Mr. Nitin.
I'm grateful to the entire audience for the clapping I got. And number one, from the host of this program, Fundermax and all, I'm really grateful. The purpose of my visit here, I knew that number of good architects will be there and so many architects who will be taking the stage now. They are absolutely wonderful architects. And similarly, I don't remember the names of the new generation, but I have seen buildings of one Mr. Gaurav Gupta and one other fellow. They are really good. I identify with them because when I was very young and practicing in Chandigarh, so the nearest possible inspiration was Corbusier because the buildings were mostly of the Corbusier. Later on, I found that when we enter into the debate of design and technology, I just wondered that how this thing must have happened in my case. So I realized that even if a small house is to be designed, design will take its own place, but technology is intertwined in that design. So it is very difficult to segregate design and technology. They are part of one another. Sometimes technology brings good architecture and sometimes it can bring bad architecture. So I'll be listening to the debates and again, thank you very much.
Please, another huge round of applause for the lovely man over here. Let us have a quick look at the Duruply AV. I would now like to call Mr. Arup Chakraborty, Category and National Head, LED Luminaire, Smart Systems Marketing, and Specification and Solution Group, India, Havells India, for delivering his presentation. Please, a huge round of applause for Mr. Aru.
Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to be back in Lucknow and seeing the crowd. It really gives us tremendous encouragement. So, when we are talking about the stage was perfectly set because when we are talking about lighting and today's building, we have seen last 2 decades is all about productivity. Everybody talked about how the building or system can be much productive, how people can deliver better result. But it is very important, and last 2 years we have seen how significantly world has changed. The importance of human life had come to the surface, and COVID had taught us the whole world a lifelong lesson. So it is all of us. It is important for all of us to understand the importance of life and how we can create not only a productive workspace or productive factory. It is very important how we can create a healthy workspace. So productivity is now a word or now a deliverable which is quite hygiene. But with that, how we can make the people's life better on the space is very critical. So when we are talking about this, so it is very important because these data are very eye-opener. If we are talking about today's situation post-COVID, the survey was done in various ways at various industries, and across industry, it has been seen that around 65 to 70% of the people think that at least 2 to 3 days in a week, per week, going to office, working from office is very critical. Everybody or many people are under impression that maybe 5 days working is very good or completely work from home is very good. But actually survey says it is in between. And when it gets into in detail, it is not only a particular sector because traditionally we might think that particular sector might be needing something, but it is quite visible that across industry, across various sector, the data is quite similar. Like 65 to 70% or two-third percent of the people actually prefer to go to office at least 3 to 4 days in a week. So what does it mean? And or why they prefer to go to office? Because in the virtual world or with the invent of Google Meet or Microsoft Teams, everything is very quietly available, and anytime we can pull in people for a immediate meeting. But there is no substitute of collaboration. There is no substitute of face-to-face meeting. And we can see the 42% of the people are saying that preference to go to office or working from office is because of that. And there are various reasons of socializing to technology upgradation or whatever. So all these percentage are actually the lesser than actual reason for going to office. So, for all of us, it is very critical that when we are creating some space, we need to understand or we need to keep in mind not only the productivity part, but more of collaborative part. How people can collaborate better with other colleagues, other peers, how they can focus because time is a constraint, and how it can have a very healthy workspace with the help of technology. So when we are talking about light, it is not a element or not a virtue of which we only see, right? So our human body is completely designed to perform whatever we do. We laugh, we smile, whatever our emotion is, how I behave with my counterpart. So it completely depends on my emotion, and emotions are clearly driven by the type of light what we are exposed to. Just imagine, in the morning when we get up, we typically feel very fresh. When we go to office, our energy level is very high. And when we come back from office in the evening, we start feeling tired. Or the night, we go to sleep. It is not because only we work and we are getting tired, we need to sleep. It is by the design of our various secretion of hormones, which actually gets secreted based on the reaction of various color of the light. So Similarly, like at midnight, like 11 to 3 o'clock, we have a deepest sleep. Or in the morning, when the light of, the color of the light is little bluish, we start getting up and we start feeling the freshness. And the survey says that if this cycle of our sleep and work is not right, so there are tremendous amount of additional fatigue, extra stress, which can lead a disaster of up to 10% of severe accidents or drastic reduction of productivity. So when we talk about productivity, so it is very clear that unless until the space, or if that space is not allowing us to sleep at night, if it is not only the meaning of the space should deliver us to work at the daytime. So it is both the way it is very critical for us to implement a right lighting, which actually can help to work us better and subsequently sleep us better at night. So the complete design aspect is related to health and human being. And when you talk about any building, starting from lighting, which is actually majorly visible, from temperature to noise, everything directly leads to improvement of health and well-being of the space. And again, various studies said the right designs of this category actually helps to improve of health and well-being by 31% and subsequently productivity of 51%. And further improvement can be found when the employee have given a chance to personalize their space. What is that actually meaning? When we talk about personalization, like I belong to a certain culture, another person belongs to certain culture, their upbringing. So if they get a chance to customize their working space, like as an example, if I am talking about lighting, I might be very comfortable to work under white light. Some other person can be very comfortable to work under different color of the light. I might be very comfortable working under 400 lux. Another person can be at different lighting level. So if they can be given a chance to customize their working space, the health part actually increases. Uh, then if we can create a mimicking effect of sun, like how sun movement happens, like how sun changes its color from bluish spectrum to warmish spectrum, and if we can create that same working atmosphere for various applications, so and if we can create that circadian rhythm free rhythm atmosphere, so that actually helps, and it actually defines in this human-centric lighting. And we all know that how important the daylight is. So everyone is actually deficit of vitamin D in today's world because all are working indoors. We get hardly any chance to get exposed. And the value of sunlight is immense. And if we can bring some sunlight by through the glass facade, by optimizing the artificial lighting, it actually helps further for any human being to work better. So I was talking about how we get relaxed in the evening when we are exposed to warm color, and how we actually energize our body and our working experience in cooler light, color of the light. So as example, if we need to really relax and if we go for a cafeteria and if the light is very whitish, we'll not be happy, right? So we need a very soothing light where it helps me to relax. But similarly, if I go to a conference room where I need to put my brain, we need to collaborate, we need to discuss, and in that space, if the light is warm and if we start feeling relaxed, that preferred outcome will not be available. So every application, what we are trying to achieve on that particular activity is clearly define the requirement of lighting. And flat color temperature across office or across any applications is not desirable. And if we can tune those color temperature with the advent of LED and smart technology, it actually helps and create a communicative office space. So always we talk about life, light is life, and it is clearly evident, and light is a language of our life. And right light, just starting from healthcare. So why people go to hospital to get a right healing, and if lighting is not triggering the healing process, then what is the use of light? We have seen many hospitals where patients are very uncomfortable. They cannot sleep at night. The doctors cannot treat them well. The nurses actually try, and nurses are actually find very difficult to find the veins when they are injecting some drugs or something. So if that their activity is not being performed well with the right light, if a patient cannot sleep well, or so then the use of light actually is not adequate. So it is important to have right light for any applications like education. If students are not feeling concentrated and getting disturbed, the use of light is having a question mark. Similarly, for office, right light actually improves the healthcare, well-being of the space. Industry, the safety, the productivity is very critical, and light plays a very critical role. And very significantly, we have experience in the retail space, like when we go for purchasing any attire or anything in retail shop. So if the adequate light is not available, so our buying decisions can be wrong. So then subsequently, the footfall of customers will decrease. So the business pattern of that particular space will get impacted if there is not a right light or quality of light is not adequate. And when we talk about well-being, whatever the parameters are available in building, and if I talk about lighting per se, starting from what we discussed about daylighting is very critical role, and we as a responsible citizen, we need to utilize the right daylight in our building space and save energy. Uh, we talked about tunability, how we can play with the color of the light to make the workspace much better, healthier. Glare, which is again a very important subject, which by virtue of which we can be much more comfortable in the workspace. It is important to restrict any type of disability or discomfort, glare, the color, and right to light. So we should have right light only when it is required, only where it is required, and based on the performance of the task, we should be able to customize those requirement of light, and then put together we can actually achieve not only a productive workspace but also a healthy workspace. So it is all about how the quality of good light is being implemented to help the betterment of human body. Starting from, we are not talking about any lighting level, any quantity part of lighting has not been discussed here. So all the quality of light, how true color it emits, how it actually helps to create a softer workspace or softer lighting ambience, not a harsh light. How uniform the light quality is, how we comfortably, very softly, we can tune the different color temperatures. So these are various qualities of light which actually helps to create a better, well rated building. Uh, I'll just take you through few lighting system. The luminaires, what we call, can be used to achieve those desired results, what we discussed now. So the importance of the luminaire, you can see, unless until you just go down or go below the luminaire, you will feel that luminaire is actually switched off, but actually it is lighting the complete space. So the deep recessed, none of the light source or light emitting surfaces are not at all visible. So it completely, restrict the distribution of the light, and very precisely it ensures the light is on actually on the workspace. For some recreational areas, you can tune the colors, maybe in the morning, in the evening. You can use those luminaires to integrate with your design intent, how the space has been designed, the colors, the furnitures, or the sofas. So based on that, you can integrate the same colors of the luminaire. Similarly, a few various suspended luminaires which are very highly rated, glare rated luminaires, which actually delivers very soft and uniform lighting ambience for retail, corridors, offices, even receptions. The deep recessed luminaire actually help you to cut off the direct glare and even the indirect glare as well. And when we are talking about tunability, when we are talking about mimicking the sunlight movements inside indoor office space, you can see the creating a sky type of effect on the office space actually gives a direct feeling or in the office space that we are under the natural sky, and it changes its color based on the color of on the sky. So various aesthetically designed luminaires, not only the functionality point of view, but aesthetically you have the various choices to use and implement in the office space. For landscape, because when you talk about right lighting, well-rated lighting, it is very important that we not only take care of any human being, but also needs to taken care of other habitats, those who are in the society. So if the light or the landscape is completely lit or with the flooded with light, so many habitats are not being comfortable. So it is important for all of us to ensure that there is no light pollution. We keep talking about noise pollution, but light pollution also is clearly very important, as important as noise pollution. So the sky should not be unnecessarily lit. The light should be only lit where actually it is required. So the optics, if you see, all are designed to direct the light only on the ground and very precisely. So light has a value only when there is a shadow. So if we completely flood the space, there will be no value of light. So it is very critical to distribute the light on particular direction. So this is all about right lighting on the space. So thank you very much. We can have detailed discussion during our dinner session. I would request you to run the AV, please, which will give you a clear direction how light is moving and create a very clear, healthy, and
The stress of competition is forcing company employees to spend more time at the office and many a times, late in the night. Discover a new way to increase efficiency, improve profits and do business the smart way. Havels. Making a difference.
thank you very much. So let us work together to make much more healthier and happier workspace. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Arup, for that really engaging presentation. Huge round of applause for him. Moving on to the next segment of the evening, the very much awaited panel discussion. We begin with the Doyens panel discussion. Please give a huge round of applause for them. And I want the applause to sort of continue while I call all our respected Doyens on stage. They are the stalwarts, the stars of the fraternity. And let me introduce you to the star-studded panel that we have here. As I call out your name, please step on stage and grab a seat. Arun Kapoor, Senior Faculty Member at Amity School of Architecture and Planning, Lucknow, and Principal Architect at Gunjan and Associates. Ashok Kumar, President and Principal Architect, Arch and Design. Mr. Partha Karmakar, Joint Vice President, BU Head, Professional Lighting, Havels, India. Vipul Varshney, Founder Director, Sthapati Associates. I apologize for this delay. And last but not least, key to making this panel discussion a success, I would like to call on stage our dear moderator for the evening, Mr. Anupam Mittal, Principal Architect and Director, N&M Consultancy Services. Give him a huge round of applause, please.
Namaste, Sat Shri Akal, Adab, good evening to all of you. So, हमारे साथ में जो इतने एक्सपीरियंस लोग हैं, उसमें से विपुल मैम ऑलरेडी अपने कंजर्वेशन वर्क और हेरिटेज उनकी राइटिंग के लिए बहुत जानी जाती हैं. तो डेफिनेटली मस्ट बी वेरी वेरी प्रो फॉर द हेरिटेज, डेफिनेटली वी ऑल. अशोक सर जब कॉलेज में मैं पढ़ रहा था तब से पढ़ा रहे हैं और आज भी पढ़ा रहे हैं, इन द सेंस कि गाइड कर रहे हैं सबको, एंड डेफिनेटली डन लॉट ऑफ वर्क इन द इंडस्ट्री. So definitely must be going for all technologies and everything. So definitely the debate is going to be more between them. And then educationist Arun is definitely here. I don't know what exactly he's teaching, but he must be teaching both the things to the students. Mr. Partha is in lighting and he knows how to lit things, lit the buildings and everything, all the spaces. So एक छोटा सा आपसे यंगस्टर से सवाल होगा, प्लीज़ सीनियर्स नहीं बताएंगे. एक जो पोस्टर लगा हुआ था पीछे, शायद अभी नहीं है वो, इसमें जो फोटोग्राफ ली गई है वो भूल भुलैया से ली गई है टुवर्ड्स द कैंपस. इज इट ओके? लखनऊ के सब लोग जानते हैं. क्या कोई बता सकता है कि भूल भुलैया है क्या? ये टेक्नोलॉजी और हेरिटेज का कॉम्बिनेशन है एक्चुअली. इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन. दिस इज गोइंग टू स्टार्ट द डिबेट. दैट section where you go and you get lost, what is that? Can anybody tell? No, sorry, you are the oldies now. Okay, I don't think so this is the correct answer. Okay, let me finish it because we have a 36.52 seconds now. So it is a slab. It is a slab of that huge span of that building where you stand and see a huge size of freestanding space, and that is a slab. उसको कैसे क्रिएट किया गया होगा? इफ़ आई एम रॉन्ग, आई थिंक भोई साहब या मैम या कोई जना मुझे करेक्ट कर सकता है. जब उस स्लैब को बनाया गया उस स्पैन को होल्ड करने के लिए, तो बहुत हैवी था और अपने लोड से गिर जाता. तो उसमें से उसके लोड को कम करने के लिए उसमें लोगों को छोड़ा गया चूहों की तरीके से कि आप उसमें उसके कुरत के इसमें से वेट कम करिए. एंड दैट इज बिकेम अ मेज, व्हाट यू सेड, बट दैट इज बिकेम अ मेज, बट दैट वाज एक्चुअली अ स्ट्रक्चरल स्लैब.
It's a waffle slab.
Yeah. So instead of saying a waffle slab, it's a slab which has been created because of this. Am I correct, sir? Absolutely. Thank you, sir. So now coming to the technology part. This is the heritage, very much well saved, and then we come to the technology. Rahul, will you like to make a slab of, say, maybe 40 feet thick for any building now for that span? Not at all. So now you have a technology which can give you this span within, say, maybe 1 meter or 1.5 meters or something like that. And the young architect Harsh, who is doing railway stations, he can tell me how big spans and airports you are doing, how spans are handling those big size things. And those are going to give you the things in the next part of it. So before, without taking more time, I come to the first part of the question, which is from the Vipul ma'am. मैम, जैसा कि इसका टॉपिक है दैट हेरिटेज विद अगेंस्ट टेक्नोलॉजी और फॉर टेक्नोलॉजी और विद टेक्नोलॉजी.
Hello.
हाउ डू यू टेक इट?
First of all, is a humble submission that the title debate is not correct. And technology and design, as per my understanding and as per our ancestors and the future generation as well, what we understand is a spiritual union of technology and design which makes architecture. It's basically a spiritual union. And how do we make it? Again, we architects, we talk of time and space. But then we also say that it should be timeless. Architecture should be timeless. How can it be timeless? With a bit of past, with a bit of history, and a bit of future. It becomes timeless.
Definitely, absolutely wonderful word, timeless. And yeah, definitely you can put some claps or for this particular thing.
Thank you.
And I'll come into the absolutely the other part of it because भुई सर आज हैं यहाँ पे बैठे हुए जिन्होंने स्पेशली ली काबूजियर और चंडीगढ़ को कनेक्ट किया. Frankly, I'm honored that I'm doing the Chandigarh station on the similar lines. So today, when this Chandigarh was made, the technology aspect. Have you seen Chandigarh? The walls, exposed walls, they are concrete. They are not bricks. 100% concrete walls. तो अशोक सर से सवाल है सर कि जो टाइमलेस मैडम ने कहा, सो वो हेरिटेज में भी है, तो वो मॉडर्न में भी है. So how do you like to talk about this? How do you rate it?
Well, definitely architecture is something which is termed as timeless, no doubt about it. But then when it comes to, comparison between the technology and the tradition, so I'm sure there's nothing like versus, I mean, technology versus tradition. There's nothing much to talk about as if they are two different things. They are one and the same thing, rather. But then, if you look at the past, we had more to deal with the traditions. But now, when the buildings are being built today, they have lot more to deal with the technology, because in today's context, whether it's a small house, is a big building, or any particular structure of any kind, be it a hospital or airport or anything, the technology plays a greater role in terms of its delivery. Because in today's context, we are, consciously or otherwise, supposed to deal with buildings in terms of sustainability, green building and architecture and so on. And as you know, all the public buildings, we are supposed to have mandatorily the GREA certification, that is green building certification. So whether you, I mean, you have no choice. It's basically out of mandatory provision, you have to go for that. And therefore, the buildings designed today, they are necessarily having a strong input of technology. So when a building is designed, you have to go for a lot of radar calculation in terms of making it compatible to sustainability and green building certification. So all these ratings of energy, etc., they are dealt with technology only. And as Bhuji Saab said that, technology has got a flip side also. But then I'm sure, I mean, probably my feeling is that technology application can be always meaningfully achieved with greater success and better results. Because it's a matter of using technology with, kind of intellect and a kind of a sensible approach. And then we definitely ought to get good results. So here again, I would say, being a timeless, but then the technology has to be as an in component today by all means. So that's all about.
Thank you so much, sir. So now we have two words. One is timeless and one is sustainability. And both the buildings we talked about, this complex where we have a Bulbulaya thing, and this De Corbusier's project in Chandigarh. Both are timeless, I'm sure, and both are sustainable, I'm sure. Professor Arun, now you have a lot to do with the students. For the last many years you are teaching, and for many years you are going to teach. So what is your take when you are just facing those youngsters, just 20 years, 18 years of age people who are still getting into architecture? So you have to take care of this part also, and this part also. At the same time, you have to ensure the timelessness and the sustainability part of it.
First, let me be very clear about the things. We're talking about tradition and technology, and we're talking about them in terms of design. See, firstly, design is an ongoing process. It's an evolutionary process. The life will stop if we stop designing. Every day we wear different clothes, go to different places. No two buildings are same. So it's a evolutionary. Somebody said that every design has got about 99 possible solutions. And the urge is to find out the best possible. No architect was perfect architect, even Corbusier was not. But they were near perfect. Their solutions were near perfection. First, this point. Second, there is a misconception between tradition and technology. Let me be very clear. What is tradition? Tradition is the proven technology which has changed the timeline of the history. Something which we remember. Today we have a sir was talking about Chandigarh. We remember Chandigarh. We follow Chandigarh. We have imbibed Chandigarh. Why? Because it has been a technology of its time, and it has proven over a period of time that it was the right kind of technology. And we took it as a tradition. We still study about Greek architecture, Roman architecture. Why? Because it has become a tradition because of the technology which was used that time. So I don't find that there is a difference between tradition and technology. And that's exactly what I teach my students. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. And I'm sure the students who taught by Professor Arun must be doing pretty well because he's so clear, so students must be very clear about these things. So definitely, he's very clear and it's definitely the right thing that the technology was always there, the way Bhulbulaiya has done, and definitely technology is there with Chandigarh has been done and whatever is being getting done today. So now the challenge of lighting both kind of buildings, the Bhulbulaiya and our heritage buildings, making them so vibrant to today's building with health thing. जब इन्होंने कल मुझे हेल्थ के बारे में बताया कि ये लाइटिंग और हेल्थ का क्या बात, मैंने इनको क्या बोला, मेरे पूरे ऑफिस के बदल डालो, है ना? आपने सुना है पुराना कि सारे घर के बदल डालो, सुना है पहले कोई ऐड आता था, मैंने इनसे बोला पूरे ऑफिस के बदल डालो. So definitely, if health is going to be affected, but definitely it helps. It helps if the lighting is perfect. The way the glare is coming is not good. It's going to tire us very soon, in 26 minutes now. So how do you take these two kind of structures, two kind of campuses or maybe buildings, while you are taking the lighting part of it?
I think it's a very important and interesting challenge we as a manufacturer face when on one side, if we are limiting the number of lights, it affects the business, right? So we have to keep being relevant in the business. So one of the very interesting thing which has happened is most of the audience have become very conscious about the quality of light. And that consciousness have really pushed the floor level up in terms of our development, our technology embracement, and also using the right kind of optics in any product. So all the products which we are today making, good thing is when we use LED, LED is a miniature source. So we are able to have better control of it, most optimized control. So we are working on technologically advanced optics so that we are able to confine the light where it is required. So wastage of light is coming very, very less. So that's the next level of quality of light, even in terms of the sleekness of the light and how it is able to being controlled through IoT devices. So that's also very much. So today we have close to 4 lakh lights in outdoor spaces which are remotely controlled, which are smart controlled. So use of technology is becoming absolutely important because to be relevant and contemporary, we have to use the latest technology, be it smartness, be it in terms of design as well as optics, distribution, the elements which are there in the heart of any lighting product is the drivers, the connectors which are there, which is throwing the right kind of current into it. So those have to be also very advanced. So every next day we are getting challenged with this, and that's why I think keeping pace with the market in professional lighting, the business which we are doing in a year, about 40% of the products are developed in this year. So from the new products.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Partha. So that is one thing is definitely for sure answered, that you are working on the sustainability because the kind of light and the size of the fitting and the kind of lighting quality is definitely been improved with very less consumption of electricity. And I'm sure you must be working on the timeless structures also, that how can a light can be timeless, even keeping the technology intact. So with this the second round of questions you can start with. Ma'am, for you again. So whenever you wrote a lot of articles and your books have been published, and mostly about the heritage, and we're talking about this aspect. So do you find or do you see that technology which is being told by Professor Arun, that it is there, it was there, and do you really see something to be picked up from that part and maybe used for your the next generation or for the today's building? Do you really see something, the technology part of that in the heritage building?
Anupam, if you remember what Professor Arun said, he said it's a ongoing evolution. Okay, so that means the technology which was used in the past eras that had some science behind it, that had some logic behind it, and why did they use it? And over the time period, it has become a huge reservoir of knowledge. It has become a huge reservoir of knowledge. And if you take an example of India, for example, like I'm just taking a case of India as a country, a developing country, where cost effectiveness is main keyword. There, this reservoir of knowledge has to be tapped, and the cost effectiveness can be very easily, if not very easily, can be efficiently met with the technology, the new technology, and the passive methods which the past has evolved and given it to us on platter. We have some very old buildings all around India. We can learn a lot from there. And of course, with a combination of technology, the new technology, I don't say that we don't have to use new things, new advancements which are coming up each day. Of course, we have to use, but we cannot neglect or we cannot avoid that knowledge base. And with the correct combination, say the passive method, and of course, like the courtyards, the clusters, the wind towers, the jalis, the chhajjas, they have proved themselves to be the correct devices of architecture. And why not? Why can't we use it? The correct aesthetics, they don't mar the aesthetics, they will rather improve the aesthetics. So the technology part as well, also, and the design part, the aesthetics part, together, they can make great combination, and we can move ahead with great pace.
नाइसली सेड मैम, थैंक यू सो मच. पहले आपको बता दो ये क्वेश्चन पेपर आउट नहीं हुआ है, ये क्वेश्चन पेपर बिल्कुल इंटैक्ट है जिसपे सवाल जवाब हो रहे हैं. सो बट एट द सेम टाइम यू डोंट नीड टू एग्री टू ईच अदर. डिबेट कैसे होगा? ओके अशोक सर, जो मैम के सवाल का मैं बिल्कुल रिवर्स सवाल आपसे पूछता हूँ कि आज भी आपके ऊपर दबाव आता है ऊपर से कि ये बिल्डिंग जो आप बना रहे हैं उसको ऐसा दिखना चाहिए, से फॉर एग्जांपल ताजमहल दिखना चाहिए या कोई पर्टिकुलर यूनिवर्सिटी में नाम नहीं लेना चाह रहा, बट ऐसा लगना चाहिए दिखने में, उसका एक मॉन्यूमेंटल स्केल होना चाहिए. नाउ यू आर मे बी फॉर टेक्नोलॉजी, बट यू हैव टू क्रिएट समथिंग विच इज़ कमिंग फ्रॉम द पास्ट. So, will you like to use the new technology in developing that particular thing, or you like to take from the existing local materials, local technologies, the technologies of the past? What will be your take?
A very nice question. In fact, it's going to be a balancing act because, see, as the owner of the project or the client, he has got every right to express his, viewpoint. And supposing there is some university facade or maybe some any other building for that matter, let's say it's a university campus, and a client wants that should be a traditional outlook. So we have no reason to impose a very contemporary architecture on the client. But at the same time, when a facade is kind of a predetermined in someone's mind, so we can definitely go with that. But then there are other aspects which are to be looked into as an architect, and as an architect we have to deliver with merit. And that is, when we design, we have to see the orientation part of it, we have to see the comfort being given to the users. If a facade is going to be, let's say, west or south facing, then we have to definitely be concerned and careful about how to minimize the ingress of heat, sun, and make interiors more comfortable and more conducive to the user's comfort. Then there at that point of time, what really comes in as a challenge is to use the right kind of material, use the right kind of technology to ensure that, supposing we are having a glass, then of course the glass has to be with due coverage, maybe with the recessed windows, maybe with a solar glass, or something which ensures that the basic tenet of the planning and the designing is not really compromised with. So that is where the balancing act of tradition or the client's aspirations vis-a-vis technology are dovetailed and given a right kind of fusion. So with this, we can definitely achieve good results. That is one aspect. Second, if you look at the, the context of old versus new. So, for example, we have a corridor for hospital. So there, a patient is lying on a, let's say, trolley or a eyes upside. So earlier, it used to be a kind of experience where the light falling on the corridor floor would be hitting the patient's eyes and causing certain amount of discomfort. We would appreciate that now the kind of lighting that we are going to have in the corridor is the one with a suitable photometry or the design of a kind where the lighting is going to be only giving a a soothing effect to the patient's eye because the photometry allows to wash the light wall rather than the center of the corridor. That means the glare and the intensity of the light is not really falling on the corridor center. It is falling on the either side of the walls. So these are technological interventions where the comfort is achieved in a plenty and also the challenges which have been adversely affecting the user's comfort, they are now minimized. So these kind of interventions are definitely going to be a welcome idea in terms of achieving the right kind of solutions.
Definitely, the technology will always remain there.
Yeah.
And you'll still like to have a most comfortable, workable environment for your client. Definitely, sir, well taken, sir. And Arun, now must be having a very kind of very varied challenges while you are taking your students through similar kind of exercise. Say there is a set of students of say around 30 in your class, and you're given an exercise. So do you ever experience the very contradictory approach towards the traditional thing and or maybe the modern thing or maybe a debate between them, this should be done like this and they defend that particular aspect, the traditional thing, or maybe sticking to that particular thing because of the materials and the local situations. Or there is certain, absolutely the other part, absolutely taking from the moon or Mars.
I think, sir, dealing with students is like dealing with clients. As sir suggested, sometimes clients come up with their varied fancies and fantasies, and that they want to come up with this kind of a thing and this kind of that. And similarly, students also come up with some possible practical solutions, some not so practical and out of the world solutions. So as a teacher or as an architect, I would say you have to deal with them, both of them, in the same way, because actually you are an architect. You have to debate with them, you have to convince them. As sir said, that it is the intervention which is required from an architect to change a system. So you have to, sometimes yes, they come up with things which even you have not thought. And you have to ensure that it is, okay, this can be done. You cannot simply say that this is bad. As a teacher, you have to, as a professor, you have to actually encourage that and say, okay, this can be done. And you have to tell them how it has to be done. So it's the same way, being a practicing architect or being a teacher, you come up with varied situations. And in fact, it's more challenging for a teacher to debate and convince both of them that this is how your product is going to be. So that's, and today I think the students who are coming here, they are from the new age, old internet age, I would say. Everything is, knowledge is on their palm top. Google is, just have to, not even type, you just have to speak on that. Google, I want this. And it's already there.
And at the same time, when you may be using less applications on the phone.
Same thing happens with your clients. They come up with Google images. This is what I want. This is the light which I want. This is the kind of elevation which I want. This is the color scheme which I want. So what are we doing? We are just trying to make a jigsaw, solve the jigsaw puzzle. Okay, this is what, but it's a debate actually. You have to convince them that this is what the right solution would be.
Wonderful. So as an architect and as a teacher, both ways the challenge remains same. Absolutely correct. I 100% agree. And even I am agreeing, so it's become very difficult to debate on this particular thing. So still the same thing goes to Mr. Patha. So Mr. Patha, there is an exterior and there's an interior. For right now, we don't know what the, exactly the lighting condition outside. So if I want to really create a sky here, the way it has been presented, so I don't know how it is going to connect with the sky to see what exactly the sky is doing right now. Or maybe, is it possible? That is one.
Yeah.
And the same time, when you're talking about the interiors, when you're talking about the comfort of the people inside, the buildings have been having a lot of facade lighting today. It was not in the past. Now, even for houses also, even for small buildings, commercial buildings, and malls and every public building, the facade lighting become a very important aspect. So you have to take care of the interior with the health thing. And what about the people who are watching or looking towards that particular building by facade lighting? What is your take about it?
See, I'll touch the second part first, is about facade lighting. So I believe any architecture is a great piece of beauty, great piece of architectural masterpiece. So as it is visible in the daytime, we all want it to be appreciated in the nighttime also. And to appreciate the whole architecture, it has to be lit as the architecture have conceived. When the architect has conceived the building, so what is it that they have conceived? It has to be displayed in the right theme when we are doing a lighting of the exterior. So one of the most important thing which we also study when we do a exterior lighting is the narration which is there behind the development of that architecture. So based on that, we need to choose the light at the right point of location so that we are able to accentuate those features better. And also we are able to use the right tonality of light so that we are able to pass on the right communication and message from that architecture. So a contemporary architecture would have a totally different type of facade lighting, and a traditionally rich or a heritage architecture would have different tonality as well as color themes. So with the use of LED, and today what we are able to bring in the new forms of light fixtures, these luminaires can be very effectively placed in the architecture so that they are not visible very prominently, and they are still creating the effect which we want. So that's how we are constantly raising the bar in terms of development of new products. However, when it comes to indoor areas, yes, it is possible to mimic what is happening outside in your indoor areas, because we have now smart systems which are Bluetooth enabled, which are able to mimic what is happening outside and create the similar ambience within the indoors. And when it comes to night, what do we do? So in the night, we are very much also promoting the concept that there should be shadows, there should be a zero light pollution, there should be night sky. So our new range of products are making sure that we are not throwing too much of light in the sky, because gone are those days when we used to when we were kids, we used to sometimes be outside and watching the stars. So those days are gone. So COVID has taught that why not we once again enjoy. There are now destinations which are selling the idea that in this destination you can see the stars better. So that's become so, yeah.
So you mean that now you don't need to go to the top floor to see the stars. You can still see your ceiling and you can see stars and the cloud.
Yeah, yes.
Wonderful. So that's going to be the future, and definitely we want to take that also. Thank you, Mr. Partha. We're going to the third, maybe the final round, depending on the clock which is clicking in front of me. So, ma'am, now these days we are looking at a lot of, that from the traditional thing, like bamboo architecture, a lot of like innovative things are happening. A lot of big structures are coming up. In woodcraft, a lot of those structures from the past is coming up. Even in like we talk about the US and other thing where wooden houses are still in thing in as the technology is concerned. So, being an architect and practitioner as well as a writer, will you like to take up certain kind of thing from the tradition, specific, be very specific about it, like I said, bamboo architecture, to use it today whenever you have a chance to experiment in your project?
Yeah, your question itself has answers, I suppose, Anupam. And of course, there are quite a few other materials as well. But for example, like you said, first of all, bamboo. So I'll let you know that at the Imphal airport, we have used a lot of bamboo. We have used a lot of bamboo. In fact, the special lightings we have created with the use of very innovative shaped bamboos and on the vertical surfaces as well as overhead. And they are all being customized as per the requirement. And since Meghalaya and Assam, that northeast region is also a source of lot of bamboo, and bamboo vegetation is quite common over there. So we do care for the local materials. Of course, that is part of vernacular architecture as well. But in our projects also, as a practitioner, we too try to take local tradition, local design, local methodologies. Like in Leh Airport, we are using lot of pagoda-style landscape features. And we are using, say, I think, if I'm not wrong, 30 feet high Buddha as a welcoming feature at the concourse side. So at all, we try to inculcate the local material, local tradition, local methodology as far as possible. And why not? We have such rich traditions, we have such rich past, we have such rich culture, such diverse people, diverse methods, diverse material, geographically as well. So, for that example, for another example, I'll say Jodhpur, we are using a lot of Rajputana architecture in the facade itself. And in Jammu, in fact, the chairman said, why don't you visit Vaishno Devi? We didn't argue on that, of course. But still, sometimes it gets too much. But of course, the client is the God for practitioners, as we all know. But there's a limit to it. Here, I would say that we need to have a limit to it, where that the line we have to do not have to cross, and where we have to take a stand, and where the technology part comes in and the logic part comes in. So, of course, we derive features, we take materials, so many things from past and from the traditions, but still, we have to keep a balance. That's it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, ma'am. So it's so clear about it, but the same thing in a different way, I'd like to Ashok sir to answer. So one is when you're talking about the tradition and the materials and this bamboo and all those things in different kind of places. You're also working in Pan India, maybe abroad also. Now the thing is that one is cosmetic corrections or maybe cosmetic application of these materials, like in landscape or maybe pavers or maybe wall treatment or maybe hangers or whatever. And one is like the real architecture from that particular material. So have you, like, that must have been used, you must have used it. Maybe still, what would be your take in this? That, yeah, cosmetic thing or maybe the real thing from the past, from the tradition, maybe some technology from the past, maybe some material from the past, from technology or those things, and together in maybe today's architecture.
Well, use of materials is very important in any context. For example, when it comes to use of local materials, it's always considered better because as an architect, we have to promote that concept of using the locally available materials that goes well with the concept of being true to yourself and true to architecture as such. So that is one thing which can never be undermined. The second thing is that besides the local material being used, one has to see the application to the extent of being true to architecture again. Because I personally feel that we cannot really take one aspect into the design and ignore the other or maybe undermine the other. So it has to be a right kind of balance being struck so that you be true to architecture in true sense. And that's where the traditions, whether it could be in terms of the local, concept of, let's say, supposing somebody is to design a resort or a hotel in Goa, for example. So traditionally, what happens, you have to have, let's say, rooms facing seaside or maybe rooms facing poolside and so on. So that's the kind of tradition of a place and for a particular type of building design. But it comes to, let's say, I'm having, purposely a room facing seaside, and by default it faces west or south. That means the most undesirable kind of direction where I'm going to get a very hot sun. And being a Goa-like place where the climate is definitely having its own, color. So then the challenge comes in as to how to minimize the ingress of heat in that context and yet get the best of the view of the sea. So there comes the use of technology by which we can have maybe some kind of jalis used in the balconies, or maybe balconies can be a little more extended with, and then of course, if we still get the sun, then we can have double glazed units, we can have solar glasses and all that. So these kind of applications would really make sense and yet not really undermining the use of local materials and use of traditions. So that means.
लेकिन सर होटल के बाकी रूम आधे रूम तो नॉन फेसिंग होंगे ही ना.
नहीं ठीक है वो तो I mean like I'm just saying the worst part of it. Okay. If you are having, let's say, supposing you're having a east facing and a sea facing as well, so you're happy because there's nothing bigger challenge. But then when you have a challenge where you as an architect has to really make a best effort to give a very sounding solution, so there your role as an architect becomes more challenging, and that's where I'm sure traditions not undermining that, you have to get a solution where the technology can be made to play its part, and you really make the user very happy and comfortable entity.
Wonderful, sir.
That's how it is.
अब एक शगुफा छोड़ने की जरूरत पड़ रही है क्योंकि सब कुछ बैलेंस की बात कर रहे हैं, सब इसकी बात कर रहे हैं. वास्तुशास्त्र को ले आते हैं थोड़ी देर के लिए. अब वास्तुशास्त्र कम्स फ्रॉम द पास्ट ट्रेडिशन, कोर्ट यार्ड प्लानिंग. आपके अंदर आपके वास्तुशास्त्री आपके कमरे में घुसे, आते कांपने लगे कि ये तो एंट्री गलत है. अब मैं फ्लैट्स बना रहा हूँ, 4 फ्लैट्स हैं, 4 डायरेक्शन होंगे ही होंगे. हर एक की एंट्री, एक की ईस्ट की होगी, वेस्ट की होगी, साउथ की, चारों की एंट्री बनेंगी. चारों की बालकनियाँ 4 डिफरेंट साइज में होंगी. ओके, सो नाउ दिस क्वेश्चन इज फॉर एक्चुअली ऑल ऑफ यू एंड एवरीबडी हैज़ टू आंसर दिस, दैट जब ये कंडीशन आती है और जो लोग मुस्कुरा रहे हैं उनमें से भी किसी से मैं सवाल पूछूंगा कि जब ये सवाल आता है कि वास्तुशास्त्र, जो कि मेरे हिसाब से वास्तुशास्त्र को जो बोलते थे उसको आज हम लोग वास्तुविद अपने आप को बोलते हैं, तो वास्तुविद सेम, इट इज एन आर्किटेक्चर, द सेम आर्किटेक्चर विच इज कॉल्ड वास्तुशास्त्र बिकॉज दैट वाज द ट्रेडिशनल थिंग. उस समय जो माहौल था, जो टेक्नोलॉजी थी, जो एनवायरनमेंट था, उसको एड्रेस करना था. आज की तारीख में आप हर फ्लैट के अंदर कोर्टयार्ड नहीं बना सकते, हर एक के अंदर वो डायरेक्शन नहीं बना सकते. तो दिस क्वेश्चन स्टार्ट फ्रॉम यू प्रोफेसर अरुण एन प्रैक्टिसिंग आर्किटेक्ट, दैट what will be your absolutely clear cut black and white? I don't want anything lipapoti into this, okay?
I'll rather be an astrologer also. And I'll say your stars are so strong that आप अगर west से भी entry करेंगे तो भी आपकी है बहुत अच्छा होगा. So I'd rather be an astrologer now. And that's what actually a lot of practitioners are doing now.
दुकान चल रही है उनकी भी.
दुकान चलाने के लिए कुछ भी करना पड़े.
It has to be black and white, sir.
Yes, of course. In fact,
yes or no or for
very interesting question, and I'm really happy to have this kind of question, which is going to be where one has to be very candid and frank and forthright. So the answer is that Vastu, as Arun said, I am again of the same view that Vastu works well and it has to be, regarded also. But then there is also a fact, like in some cases you'll see, both extreme I am telling you, in some cases Vastu being perfect, the person is not flourishing at all. And in some other case, the Vastu being imperfect, the person is flourishing very well. That means the stars do matter when it comes to that person.
ये भी डिबेट नहीं हुआ, ये भी पौर हो गए.
So the Vastu has its own, of course, in 90% cases I would say Vastu does have a role to play, but then in 10% cases the exception plays. That's how it is.
इनफैक्ट इसके लास्ट में मैं इसी बारे में मैं अपना भी मत रखूंगा.
अनुपम, हम बताएं क्या? जी, तो दो लोगों ने तो एस्ट्रोलॉजी की बात कर ली ना. अब आप दूसरी रेमेडी के बारे में बात करिए. जब वास्तु कहीं नहीं काम कर पाता है तो एक और साइंस है चाइनीज फेंगशुई, ठीक है ना. अब ये हुआ कि मान लीजिए किसी का वास्तु ठीक नहीं है फिर भी वो फ्लरिश कर रहा है, कैसे कर रहा है? अब हुआ क्या होगा? अब उसके नॉर्थ में वहाँ मिरर लग गया होगा, नॉर्थ ईस्ट में, तो वो ठीक हो गया. अब वो क्योंकि उसके स्टार्स ठीक थे तो वहाँ मिरर लग गया था. तो या तो आप फेंगशुई ले आइए या फिर ऑटोमेटिकली वो आ ही जाता है एस्ट्रोलॉजी के थ्रू. तो दुकान चलानी है, बट वो भी एंशिएंट साइंस है, ये भी एंशिएंट साइंस है. तो इसका सहारा लेके
दुकान चलानी है, आपको नहीं चलानी है वो दुकान.
सुनिए तो उसका सहारा लेके, ट्रेडिशन का सहारा लेके टेक्नोलॉजी को आगे बढ़ाइए.
ठीक है. तो मिस्टर पार्था तो बहुत क्लियर हो चुके हैं इनको कहना क्या है. पहले ही अपना आंसर वसन बना कर बैठे हुए हैं कि इसमें मेरा क्या रोल है. अरे आपका रोल है, जैसे मिरर का रोल है ऐसे आपका भी रोल है. अगर आपके घर में कोई घुसा, यही वास्तु पंडित, आई एम सॉरी अगर आपके मुझसे कोई हो भी तो उसको मैंने बहुत स्मूथली अच्छे से वास्तु पंडित जी बोल रहा हूँ, उसको माइंड मत करिएगा. तो उसमें अगर आपके पास आए और आपसे कहा कि भाई ये देखिए इस साइड अंधेरा होता है या इस साइड डार्कनेस, नॉट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द लाइट, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट डार्कनेस, द लाइफ, डार्कनेस ऑफ लाइफ एंड द लाइवलीनेस ऑफ लाइफ. तो उसमें आप ही मुझे लगता है कि ऐसा मौका है कि आपको लाइट से अपनी फिटिंग से कुछ करना पड़ा, ऐसा वास्तु दोष दूर करना पड़ा या फेंगशुई लाना पड़ा?
आई थिंक ए वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चन. हम लोग लाइटिंग उस टाइम पे लाइटिंग प्रोजेक्ट में घुसते हैं जब तक बाकी वास्तु वाली प्रॉब्लम्स ना सॉल्व हो चुकी होती है.
बहुत बढ़िया स्केप मारा. इनको तो दुकान अपनी चलानी है.
आपका सपोर्ट लिया जाता है, लाइट लगाई जाती है जहाँ पे गड़बड़ होता है,
रेमेडी के लिए यूज किया जाता है हमें. थैंक यू.
ओके, सो आई विल ऑल्सो पुट ऑन द वेरी इन ए ब्लैक एंड वाइट टर्म. मेरे पास जब ये पहला इंसिडेंट आया, जैसे सर ने कहा कि बहुत समृद्ध भी हो सकता है पर्सन और बहुत गरीब भी हो सकता है. जब पहला शो मस्ट हैव गॉट कि मैं क्या एग्जैक्टली बताने वाला हूँ कि एक क्लाइंट बिल्कुल वास्तु परफेक्ट उनका घर होना चाहिए, बिल्कुल कहीं से भी, मतलब चढ़ने से लेके सीढ़ी के साइज से लेके डायरेक्शन से लेके सब कुछ. हम बहुत साल तक इंतजार करते हैं, उनका घर पूरा नहीं हो पाया. फाइनली वो पता नहीं कहाँ रहने चले गए. ठीक है, तो वो भी होता है वास्तु परफेक्ट मकान बनाते बनाते. एंड दैट मे बी द ओनली क्लाइंट वी लॉस्ट इन एज अ क्लाइंट, बिकॉज उनको लगा कि ये तो जानता ही नहीं. क्योंकि मैंने क्या बोला था बताता हूँ. जब बात आई कि वास्तु शास्त्र को लेना है या मतलब बेसिकली ट्रेडिशन से कुछ लेना है, इतना पुराने ट्रेडिशन से लेना है, तो मैंने कहा एक मेडिकल साइंस की एक बहुत अच्छा सा वाक्य याद आया मेरे को. मैं कहीं पढ़ रहा था कि पहले बेहोश कैसे किया जाता था. आज तो आप एनेस्थीसिया देते हैं, आपको पता है किसी को पहले ऑपरेशन के लिए बेहोश कैसे करते थे? मैंने क्लाइंट को बोल दिया था गलती से. मैंने कहा सर पहले बेहोश करने के सर पर डंडा मारते थे. आई सेड सो. मैंने पढ़ा है बाकायदा, आई स्टिल रिमेंबर द ब्लैक एंड वाइट स्केच ऑफ दैट कि पहले ऑपरेशन करने के लिए सर पर डंडा मारते थे कि पर्सन बेहोश हो जाए तो उसका ऑपरेशन कर सके. तो क्या आज भी आप सर पर डंडा मारना चाहेंगे या मतलब यू विल स्टिल लाइक टू डू इट? नहीं. What I said, absolutely, I'm a technology person. Absolutely for technology. There is nothing black and white. That's why I'm sitting in the center. There is nothing black and white. The technology takes over everything, even from the tradition, whatever we take. And similarly, as far as Vastu Shastra is concerned, definitely for me, it is absolutely no and no. Absolutely, that today's environment, today's sustainability, timeless building, and the life cycle, and the education and everything works for me and works for everybody. So before we close, I'd like to, if you allow me, can we take 2-3 questions from the audience? Okay. So can you just have a mic and whoever, please, no lecture from any audience. अभी आपका समय नहीं आया लेक्चर लेने का, आपकी दुकान आप चला लीजिएगा बाद में. पहले आपको सिर्फ स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन पूछना है और स्पेसिफिक पैनलिस्ट से पूछना है. You can talk to directly to the person.
Sir, like we were discussing about this Vastu thing and all. So there is a very interesting incident which happened to me recently. So it was like a client, he's very Vastu specific. He come to me and he said कि सर जो आपने डिजाइन किया है ना ये तो वास्तु के हिसाब से है नहीं, हमारे पंडित जी मना कर रहे थे. तो मैंने बोला कि आप ऐसा करते हैं, एक बार करेक्शन करते हैं, तो तब भी फिट इन नहीं हुआ. तो मैंने बोला आप वास्तु कंसल्टेंट मेरे होंगे. सो आई ब्रिंग अ वास्तु कंसल्टेंट इनटू इट एंड आई वाज लाइक कि अब ये बताओ बॉस कि इसको फिट कैसे करना है. ही सेड कि सर वैसे तो फिट इन नहीं हो रहा है, बट आप एक काम करो क्लाइंट की कुंडली मंगाओ. तो हमने क्लाइंट की कुंडली मंगाई, आधा फिट हो गया. फिर ये हुआ कि अब आगे कैसे करेंगे. तो इट वाज लाइक कि नहीं ये एक दो चीज़ें छोटे छोटे करेक्शंस हैं, इसके हिसाब से फिट इन हो जाएगा. आई सेड कि सर आप एक काम करते हैं, आप पूरे फैमिली की कुंडली मंगाओ. जब पूरे फैमिली की कुंडली आई मोर ऑफ इट, तो विद जस्ट फ्यू माइनर करेक्शंस एवरीथिंग फिटेड इनटू द brief which we have prepared more of it. So it was always a possibility to go ahead with these things, tradition and technology more of it.
सवाल नहीं था मतलब.
Sir, no, it's not a सवाल, it's just an incident. So how to come?
अब इस मामले में से पूछा जाएगा राहुल से कि भाई तुम्हारी दुकान कैसी चल रही है. परफेक्ट, इसने तो सारे काम बढ़िया कर लिया, कुंडलियां तक मंगा डाली, क्योंकि हाँ इसने तो बिल्कुल उसको प्रॉपर कर लिया. वंडरफुल राहुल. और अगले सेशन के मॉडरेटर हैं, तो ये सब चीज़ें इनसे हम पूछेंगे कि इन्होंने कैसे इसको सक्सेसफुल बनाया. तो इसमें एक और तरीका था इसका, जैसे शादी की डेट तय होगी कि नहीं होगी. पंडित जी को 500 रुपये देना, डेट भी निकल जाएगी.
ऑफ सीजन पे सर खर्चा कम होगा.
या नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, या शुभ्रा प्लीज.
मेरा क्वेश्चन विपुल मैम से है. हम लोग अभी डिस्कस कर रहे थे कि वी वांट टू यूज टेक्नोलॉजी अलोंग विद ट्रेडिशन एंड incorporate it and take values from our ancient architecture. And कुछ हद तक अशोक सर से भी ये क्वेश्चन अनुपम ने जब पूछा था कि there is a brief from the client and we want to kind of like make your building look like a certain way. So personally, it is my own beliefs that I feel कि are we not mimicking something and making a fake copy the moment we start doing something from the past. लेकिन हमारे construction methods, our current technology that defines today's construction is completely different from what used to be. तो आज अगर हम वो चीज़ें recreate करने की कोशिश करते हैं, तो are we not mimicking? Do you not feel that it will never be as the original? It will look never look like the original and become a bad copy in some way. Because I feel कि हम उसको वैसा बना तो पाएंगे नहीं, because methods change हो गए. So that is my personal question to you, that how do you deal with that? Because it's a personal issue.
Let's come with the planning part of it, traditional planning, and of course जो अब आजकल हम लोग, I'm not talking of specifically flats or something. Just take an example कि हमने कोई modern building बनाई, कोई से 20 स्टोरी बिल्डिंग बनाई, और जैसे IHC में भी कोर्टयार्ड प्लानिंग्स हैं, कुछ ठीक है वो 15 नहीं है, वो 7, 8 है, 10 है, जो भी है. तो शुभ्रा जस्ट टेल मी कि एयर कंडीशनिंग भी है वहाँ पे, कोर्टयार्ड भी है, ठीक है. आप ये कह लीजिए कि हम मिमिक कर रहे हैं, या आप कह लीजिए कि हमको पसंद है, बट इज इट नॉट वर्किंग? जस्ट टेल मी. लाइक व्हेन वी आर यूजिंग a series of courtyards or a courtyard, will it not help to cool down the building and bring in the fresh air and use even the daylighting factor? The dimmers can be used, the sensors can be used during the daytime, they can be stopped. On the twilight, they can be switched on or increase the intensity. Are they not working? Why don't we try it, Shubhra?
Is it more about the fascia?
No. I'm also even about this point. Although I was referring more to the fascia part, I personally feel that if we are talking about creating spaces like large size courtyards, let's say IHC has it or some other building has it, they had the luxury of space. How often do we get that luxury of space in today's times? The carbon footprint that we are creating, the amount of built masses that we have to create, the more we spread out, the more land we cover. Are we not doing injustice to our cities when we are covering so much of land? I feel is it not about compaction now? Is it not about making smallest footprint so that we can kind of economize on space?
Not Lulu malls.
Okay.
So it's a big, if we're making a huge structure, we do have a luxury of space, but I think that is not available to us anymore in our metropolitan cities. Let's say even like a city like Lucknow would not have that kind of a luxury of space. So how practical it would be to emulate that kind of architecture?
Why do we want to emulate? We didn't say. I didn't say, rather. Nobody say. Yeah. It's the top. Today's topic is design versus tradition, but it is always a balancing act. It is always, we as architects of today's era, we have to have that, हम लोग को ट्रपीज पे चलना है, हमें इधर भी रहना है, हमें उधर भी रहना है, हमें ये भी नहीं छोड़ना है, वो भी, and it is of course a difficult path, but still we are evolving even in this journey of ours. We are evolving. We are making mistakes. We are learning from it. And who didn't make mistake? Our ancestors didn't make mistake. Of course they made mistakes. But we can learn something from them. Like भूल भुलैया की बात हो गई. अभी आप लामार्टनियर की बात करो. The 4 octagons, they are such excellent wind shafts. पूरा का पूरा नीचे बेसमेंट से कूल करते हुए एयर ऊपर निकल जाती है हीट अप हो करके. Is it not a excellent passive method of air conditioning? So we can try something of this kind. Of course, I keep on reading in journals and magazines that these kind of houses, these young architects are still probing and they are trying to delve into. So we can't. देखो दोनों तरफ से ये नहीं कि हमें ये नहीं करना या ये नहीं करना, हमें कुछ बीच का ऐड करना है. That's what I feel.
Ashok sir wants to add something in this, please sir.
Subra's mandate, I would like to say something. So you see, when it comes to taking up a design for a particular project, it's always an individual project and has to be dealt on merit. Firstly, feel that it can never be called as an imitation in first go. Because, for example, you have a brief of project, then project will have a certain amount of size of a site, certain challenges, certain amount of other features which could be as a constraint, and therefore is going to be a solution out of all these aspects and considerations. Therefore, when it comes to, let's say, ground coverage or trying to establish a footprint of a building, we can, first of all, always be sure that what is the kind of situation where we're going to have a footprint fixed. And then supposing we are having enough scope to have a courtyard kind of a concept, especially in a place which is having a composite climate, let's say North India, Delhi, Lucknow, etc. I think we should be happy to have that kind of situation to have a courtyard, because if as a sustainable practices, we are able to achieve something which is close to being a climate-friendly design, there's nothing like it. And that's the basic design I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the facade as of now. So that means the design starts from its inception itself, where it speaks of its merit. That is one. When it comes to a basic footprint fixed and a certain amount of floors, then comes the character of facade as to what kind of facade we're going to develop. As an architect, we may have a contemporary facade. We may have a traditional facade. Supposing I'm having a building in Rajasthan, then chances are very bright that people at large, I'm talking of larger percentage of people will go for a facade which is Rajputana or maybe Rajasthani style. Whereas a contemporary style of architecture would be preferred less in that sense. Because I've been designing their number of buildings, and if I happen to evaluate the number of responses, I will see that 2/3 of people will be going for a traditional architecture there. If it's not a commercial building or something, but if it is institutional and things like that. That means the design evolves out of the brief first, the requirements first, and then all these things in terms of facade and those kind of features, they come as a, like a second stream when it comes to designing and developing the facade altogether. So there's nothing like imitation as such.
Sir, आएगा word. Sir, आएगा. Imitation आएगा. Mimicry आएगी. जब हम glass facade बनाएंगे, जब हम European style की building बनाएंगे, कहीं पर भी, सबर्ब्स में भी, जहां पे बहुत सारी लैंड है, बहुत सारी नई प्राइवेट यूनिवर्सिटीज आ रही हैं, आप ग्लास फसाड देखते हैं, क्या आप वहां पे कोर्टयार्ड प्लानिंग नहीं कर सकते? शुभ्रा, जस्ट टेल मी.
Ma'am, I can wrap it up in one line. Now, this is what is tradition.
Yes.
This is the timelessness that we are imitating or following as
Yes.
a tradition.
We are imitating in a wrong way. We could
It
have
is a wrong
imitated.
or right,
Yeah.
but we are following the tradition.
यहाँ पर ये डिबेट.
Thank you so much. I just enjoyed the fireworks at the end.
वंडरफुल. मेरा पर्पस सॉल्व थोड़ा सा तो हो गया. Yeah.
Last question,
Yeah, this is the
please.
last question
Quick
because we are
question.
running out with the time. Yeah.
So I think जो ये debate है कि carbon footprint and footprint. Now, we as architects face a lot of problem when we discuss with town planners, and just day before yesterday, I was sitting with a senior town planner and a chief town planner for a 50-storied building, and he didn't allow me to put a courtyard. He forced me to rather put a courtyard. Now, how do we define 111 Park Avenue building or a 425 Park Avenue building designed by Norman Foster versus over here, wherein we are stuck to courtyard, even for a building of 50-story high structure. Now, courtyards don't work for a 50-story high structure. Now, that thing, for say, that is where, for example, India is lacking at the moment, wherein we feel that the statutory norms or the applicable bylaws should not be uniform for each and every type of building. If the footprint has to be reduced, very well said, the life cycle analysis, carbon analysis, that will help us. वो carbon बचाएगा, वो very valid point है. But the people who are sitting above us, who are sanctioning on the drawings made by us, they need to understand that courtyards is not the only solution for any sort of a building. अगर वो 50-storied high building है, उसके टॉयलेट ब्लॉक्स अगर पीछे आने हैं वो आएंगे, क्योंकि मेरी विंड एनालिसिस है जो कहता है कि मुझे कोर्स बीच में रखने हैं और मेरे वो shear walls मेरे टॉयलेट्स पे ही आ सकते हैं.
छोटा सा ट्रेडिशनल चीज आएगी, स्टैक इफेक्ट, जिससे हम अभी बात कर रहे थे, वो हम सारे वेंटिलेशन को स्टैक इफेक्ट से निकाल
लें. But the problem is wherein India is not yet ready for such modern structures because of the lack of awareness in the statutory norms. And this is where probably we as architects face a lot of struggle.
And the norms are getting changed in Lucknow also. Now the TOD has come, Transit Oriented Development, and now through the metro route, you will be getting the FAR of 3 to 5. So that is from 1.2 to this, and that's not going to state another debate because that's going to take eat up the entire next session, and then Rahul will tell me, sir, आपने मेरा पूरा session खा लिया. So I'll not do that. So there is a question from the behind. Actually, पीछे से एक भी सवाल नहीं लिया हमने. ले लेते हैं अलीशा. We can allow one question from the back. Just one, not after this. Absolutely. उसके बाद हम जिसका भी question होगा, हम वो थोड़ा सा उसके खाने के साथ लेंगे. You got it ना? Please make it fast. नहीं, left side में नहीं, पहले जिन्होंने उठाया ये left side सामने center आए. अभी be specific, just a question. If you make any statement, I'll cut it. Yeah.
My question is to Vipul ma'am. Ma'am, I would just like to ask ma'am, like in the current scenario, should architecture really be timeless or whether it should be dynamic so that it comprehends to my varied users that will be coming in the next future?
डायनेमिक एंड टाइमलेसनेस की बात कर रहे हैं अगर आप, तो टाइमलेसनेस इज बीइंग डायनेमिक, इज इट नॉट? आप कुछ और कहना चाहते हैं बेटा?
No ma'am. It was basically the same thing. I mean, I would like to ask whether the architecture style or what we think, whether it should be a consistent thing or whether it can be dynamic. I'm not saying
style.
Not the style. I'm asking whether the architecture, it should be timeless or it should be dynamic so that it comprehends to my varied users. Like what you can say the current, if you see any heritage building that you are talking right now, it does, what I feel personally that it does not relate very well to the users that are coming up right now. I mean, the same building for me, for the users to use it, that has to go under certain things like adaptive use or certain things.
Yes. I got your question. Now, dear participant, the point is कि यही सारा डिबेट चल रहा है, यही तो डिस्कशन चल रहा है कि वी आर स्टैंडिंग ऑन अ वेरी टाइट रोप, वी आर अ ट्रेपीज प्लेयर, है ना. हमें जो चीज़ें जो एप्लीकेबल नहीं है, जो हमें छोड़नी है वो तो हम छोड़ेंगे ना ट्रेडिशन से. If they are not very user friendly, then why would we imitate या उसको हम क्यों mimic करेंगे? But if they are relevant, if they can be used in a friendly manner, and if they are beneficial for us, if they are sustainable, then why not? Then only we can use it. That's it. So it has to have timeless in a way. You take the best things from the past and throw it in the future to get the best out of everything for the future generation as well. In any case, things have some time period. Childhood के बाद में old age आएगी. Building outdated होंगी. But we have to have that knowledge reservoir. उसमें से जो हमारे लिए correct है, जो आज के contemporary period के लिए we can relate to, we can use, we have, that's our only duty, and that's our only sort of जो हमसे कहा जाता है कि that knowledge base we should not make it go it waste. उसको आप use करें और फिर आगे let the technology come, let the new advancement come, and we collaborate both the things, the wisdom of the past and the technology of the future. Together we can make wonders.
Yes, wonderful. In fact, what you said is like the simple line is that dynamism is also is a timeless. Dynamism is a timeless thing. It's not separate. So I have taken just a word to close this debate. That taking from the past, what to take from the past, I'll put it like a value. So what we have to take from the past is value, and use the technology every time, every day, whatever is coming up, and then take it to the future. Am I correct? So take it the value from the existing, the previous things, learning from the past, and take it forward to develop best of the architecture for everybody, for the living human being. So thank you so much. Thank you ITP. Thank you all sponsors, and a wonderful session from all the panelists. Really, we enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Huge round of applause for 4 of them.
May I call Aditya IV, Deputy General Manager, Commercial Air Conditioning Division, Blue Star Limited, and Nivedita Vibhav, Head of Marketing and Business Development, Fundamax India, on stage to felicitate our panelists. A round of applause. Thank you so much, guys. Let's keep it going while the felicitations happen. It was a lot of fun, and a special thank you to Mr. Mittal for curating it so wonderfully. Moving on, I would like to request Nivedita to stay back on stage, Head of Marketing and Business Development, Fundamax India. She'll be giving us a look at what her brand does.
Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It indeed was a very intriguing session which we just now had. What lovely insights. And I must say, when debates are like, I would not say the word concocted, but when debates are mixed with humor, it's like amazing. I can vouch that the audience would be like, agree with me that Mr. Mittal did it awesomely well. So amazing. I mean, it was like a real nice debate, and there are a lot of takeaways which we all would have, when it comes to tradition and technology. So moving on, if we may start. So I represent Fundamax. We are here, and I'm sure that many of you would be aware of Fundamax. Fundamax is one of new age material, I would say, not to debate on traditional materials which we had, not to debate on the ones which are going to be coming in the market, but we are the pioneers. I would take this thing to say that, we are the pioneers of high pressure laminates, what you call, and I'm sure that majority of you know about it. So if I may take a liberty and do this audacious thing that waqt ki nazakat ko madde nazar rakhte hue, I will not keep you guys away from your plates and your drinks, right? So I would want to try and do it fast. Having said that, as everybody was mentioning, we are all about design. Our ethos, our intent has always been design to add something inventive, to do something innovative, which does that face lifting to your buildings, to your exterior world, to your interior world as well, right? So can we have the AV, please? So just to give you a snapshot of what Fundamax is all about.
Is where aesthetics meets functionality, where beauty touches the surface. It is art making itself useful, touching the heart all the while. Individuality is what we want to offer. Uniqueness is what you make it. We see ourselves as co-designers of your design wishes. That's how we become partners in your success. Our origin is the book in which we turn the pages to read the future. Since we know where we come from, we also know where we want to go. Our products know it too. They want to find their way to you. Perfection is more than a claim to our skills. It is our way of showing respect for natural raw materials. Our way of bringing production and processing to perfection. Change has been our constant for 130 years, and we're doing it again. We change. We think ahead. We are open for new things, for inspiration, for innovation, and collaboration. Open for you, and open for you to create.
So ladies and gentlemen, this is Fundamax. For you to create is what we say. We are privileged, to have been in the city which boasts of its culture, literature, and definitely architecture. And what a platform, thanks ITP for this, that we are amongst people who create. Moving on, we are a part of Constantia Group. We are not only into wood products, which is Fundamax, but we are into many other innovative products which cater to the automobile industry, to the aviation industry, so on and so forth. I will not take much of time in elaboration in this because we are here to discuss design and creativity and architecture. So not much, but we are a part of Constantia. We are an Austrian brand. We have all our manufacturing facilities based out of Austria, but we have a huge base in India, and we've been here for more than 15 years. Not to elaborate much again, our ethos is about nature. It comes all the way from nature, and it's about nurture. When I say nature, the products which we make come from the nature because it's made out of wood pulp. And we would want to say, because there can be questions that, you are using nature. Yes, of course, we use nature, but at the same time, we nurture nature also because all of our products are FSC certified. We only use where we also ensure that, we are giving back to the nature by planting trees as well. So that's what. So we are about nature and nurture. The history is that, we were talking about tradition and the new age materials and things. We started way back in 1890 just from a sawmill. And today we have grown up, as one of the pioneers, as I said, with innovative products which we cater to the exterior world and the interior world also. As I said that, we give a lot. We ensure that we were talking about timelessness. We were talking about dynamism. We were talking about being inventive and innovative, right? So we do all of it because at the same time, it's a very honest confession out here, ladies and gentlemen, which you see that, it's being taken from the wood. And as I said, that it's from the forests. But at the same time, we ensure that, 80% of energy which we produce is from the biomass. Okay. And a lot of green electricity is produced, which does the district heating near to the factory where we are in Austria. So we ensure that, whatever we are doing has the sustainable part to it. Coming on to the products, Fundamax has, of course, the base is wood pulp. We are made up of paper and resins. We cater to the exteriors and interiors. In India, predominantly, we cater to the exteriors. When you see the facade or the soffit or the pergola or the gate, you think of anything exterior and you can adorn it with a Fundamax panel. So we have a lot of products into exterior. And just to make an announcement that we are also getting into the segment of interiors very shortly. So you will see an innovative range coming your way when it comes to, your kitchen or your dining table and all of it. You will see Fundamax soon there as well. The Doyens were debating about, how important it is. And Mr. Kapoor was mentioning that, it has to go on and on. It's a continuous process. And what we say is it's just not about the design, but it's also about the technology. We just do not make panels and sell them, ladies and gentlemen, but we have a very robust system which goes behind our panels. We are an integrated solution provider. We just don't sell a panel or we just don't make a panel. We innovate with you on the design. We have a fully technical team which can support you. And you can see, the system. We were just talking to a few people, a few architects who just came over to our pavilion, and we were mentioning that, and somebody complimented us. In fact, sir was saying that, it's just not about the beauty, the facade, the exterior part of it, but we ensure that the system on which it goes is also robust. It supports, it sustains, right? So you can see, we follow the concept of rear ventilation where we ensure, because, we talk about breathing facades. We talk about breathing panels. We have these gaps. I do not have the pointer. You can see for the rear ventilation to ensure that there is cooling. So there is a lot of technology also which goes in, with our products. A bit on the interiors, as I said. Now we are getting into melamine face chipboards. We are also getting into MDF. We are having some beautiful compact worktops for the interior segment. And the beauty of our products is, the attributes are unparalleled. You name it. We are flame retardant. We are scratch resistant. We are color fast. The timing of our projects. We have done projects which have been tried and tested through all weather conditions. We can sustain, from minus to plus 180 degrees Celsius. So it's a huge range which we you can experience with Fundamax, right? So there are a lot of features which support our architecture. Not much again. The features. We also cater to the laboratories segment, wherein a very sensitized environment. So our panels are also antimicrobial in all of it. So operation theaters, pharma industry, laboratories, all of them use this product, and we are very unique in this particular space, and we sell quite a bit as far as this particular segment is concerned. To talk about India, because we are here in India, we started way back in 2007, and pride would be a wrong word, absolutely wrong word, because it's about humility, what we have gotten from India. We are we have catered to quite a few projects, few to name, like the Infosys, the Tajes, the Hotel Taj and all of it, and more than 15,000 projects to our credit, more than 1.5 lakh square meters of, paneling which we have done across India. We have more than 32,000 SKUs, right? So, and this all has happened because of your trust which you have put on us in terms of, understanding and knowing that what we are talking about, it's just not about the product, it's also about the system and the solution which we have offered. We offer a unique world of products, and I would want to take you more onto the design part, which you can see that the work we have done throughout India, and we are just talking about the projects which we have done in India. This is the first one I wanted to put was Lucknow again, right? For the path builders. We did this project way back, I think, in 2012, 13. And you can see the perforation on the panel, right? So a lot of design freedom. We just give you a panel and it's up to you to design, right? So that's how it is. It's one of the projects out here in Lucknow. The Jali, you can do a lot of perforation, right? So that is very much possible. Segmentation, something like this. Now, this is one of the rewarded projects which we executed in Bangalore, and you can see the segmentation which we did, and it's very simple, yet exuberates class and that subtleness, a very simple one color, but then the design is all, so we are always, working very closely with the design fraternity to give them the best, something which stands out, something which is very innovative, something really captures attention. Simple, plain Jane, white is always a class apart. in Bangalore again. You can see the perforation. This was in Nagpur, a residence which we did, right? Again, interiors, the kitchen tops, again, few interior applications of your cabinets, your storage spaces. Laboratories, it's for the Doon School which we did, right? The laboratories all have the Fundamax panels. Cubicles again. Can we have the AV please to show a few more projects? So open. We are open to ideas. We are open to designs. We are open to technology. Ladies and gentlemen, with the wish and the belief that we collaborate to create addresses which not only show magnificence, but they are sustainable. So as the saying goes that muskuraiye aap Lucknow mein hai. Let's continue to smile, with the new designs. Let's be, open to accepting new products, new technology, because as I would reiterate what Mr. Kapoor mentioned, that it's an ongoing process and, it cannot be separated from each other. So with the belief that we will create together amazing spaces for the future, spaces which are sustainable, spaces which give us that liberty to showcase something which has prominence for the generations to come. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Wishing you a great year ahead, a year which showcases great designs and wonderful projects. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nivedita. That was an incredible presentation. Let us now have a look at the Blue Star AV. To dive right in with our moderator, Rahul Jadon. And I would like to welcome him on stage to introduce the rest of our panelists while they do the tedious task of putting these chairs up on the stage.
So, good evening, everybody. So now I call all the esteemed panelists over the dais. So, Amit sir. Amit sir is an architect and urban designer based out in Lucknow. He has studio Prayogshala that experiments more into the kind of sustainable building solutions parallelly. And he is doing a lot of great work in the timeless materials and all. So welcome over here. So since everybody is from Lucknow, so I'm well versed of all the panelists' work, and also next panelist is Gaurav. Gaurav is a founding partner at more of a DK studio. He's practicing in Lucknow. He's doing a lot of work in the multi-story and a lot of big projects he's taking care in Lucknow. And next panelist is Harsh. So Harsh is, I would say, a next-gen architect. So he's a next-gen, and I would say he is dealing with a lot of, he's a director at Stapati Associates, and he's dealing with a lot of projects in big TOD-oriented project and a lot of the airports, the bus terminals and all, railway stations and all. So next panelist is Hassan. So Hassan is a practicing architect in Lucknow with a practice Hassan and Kusal. So he's doing a lot of interior projects and doing great work in the city. So welcome you all over here. And parallelly, we have an industry panelist, Mr. Aditya. So he is from the Blue Star, and he is I would say Deputy General Manager North and Commercial Air Conditioning Division. So welcome Aditya over here, over the dais. So for this next gen panel, it itself says next gen. So we are more of the owners of this debate and discourse now on this young team, dynamic team, and you are trying to put it like you can see the young, dynamic and smart people on the dais, and parallelly we are looking for more of a dynamic conversation on the stage, and we'll try not to let you to wait for a long for your dinner and for your drinks. So yeah, please take a seat. So we have 5 panelists over here. So I'm just picking a term from the last conversation we are having on the stage, the timeless. So so the last, the most discussed term was timelessness. So now coming on this part, so a lot of construction change is happening all around, a lot of technology development is happening all around in the world. And we are doing construction from from like a 4000 BC kind of a thing. So a lot of technology and change has happened over here, but there is a one constant which I feel like is the most important component that is being constantly with us. So when we're discussing the timeless tradition technology more of a, so the one thing I realize is very constant with us, that is a building material. So can anybody name that building material that is constantly with us from last 4000, since 4000 BC? Can anyone name the material? Right. So more of a, yes, I can, the stone and brick. But brick is a most widely used material that has been constantly like doing magic with us since long. So I'm giving a statement more of a, so you all like need to say either yes or no. So I'm saying brick we use in in stupas long back in 4000 BC. The brick we used in kind of at the time of 1950s with Corbusier used brick and icon. And parallelly, I would say the brick we are using now. So how you see, do you see the technology in it? You have to say either yes or no. So you say, yeah, a lot of technology over. And Harsh, you?
Brick itself has evolved with technology over time. Yes.
Okay. So you, Gaurav?
अकॉर्डिंग टू मी ब्रिक इज लाइक दैट कि जब हम लोग ब्रिक को यूज़ कर रहे हैं अपने डिज़ाइंस में इन टर्म्स ऑफ स्ट्रक्चर, इन टर्म्स ऑफ डिज़ाइन, इन टर्म्स ऑफ इंटीरियर्स, लाइक इन द पास्ट सिनेरियो अगर हम लोग लखनऊ में ही बात करें, जो हमारा चारबाग स्टेशन है, स्टार्ट फ्रॉम द ब्रिक्स राइट नाउ, अभी जितने भी लेटेस्ट इंटीरियर के स्टोर हैं, एक्सटीरियर के नए कंपनीज हैं, एवरीबडी वांट्स टू यूज़ द फेशिया ऑफ ब्रिक एंड द वुड just because of the history, because it's relevant for the to use.
So you are saying yes. So ultimately,
yes, yeah. Not in terms of only brick as a material, but also the way we've started using it.
Okay. So like we can put forth this thing. Yes, brick has evolved, but brick has not evolved as a material more of it. So it's like Amit sir, I'm over to you. So how you see the brick has evolved over time since last 4000 BC? Like how brick has evolved more of it, and how we say it's more of a technology, and how you're saying it is a sync of tradition and technology. Where you see the technology and tradition into the brick?
जब मैं बोल रहा था कि I think now we have not only we have, everybody is making more bricks. I mean volumetrically बहुत ज़्यादा bricks बनने लगे because we have technology and we have pressure of building materials. और when we start using bricks in our projects, then of course there are varied ways where we use bricks. Sometimes people want to show them, sometimes people don't want to show them. So that's how brick as a material has evolved in terms of where and how and when do we use them. To showcase them or not to showcase them, or you use them under the ground or over the ground, or you make them the desi way, the people are making it, or whether you make them in a mechanized way. So yes, brick has stood the test of time, and it was used thousands of years ago. And I think there is one glitch here, that maybe some kind of environmental issue with now, because we're making bricks, we are using the top start of the soil and we are using fuel. So there has to be a question of carbon footprint. I think that is the only point which I feel that, bricks should evolve into something else. Otherwise, I'm very happy with the way bricks have evolved.
One more point I wanted to add. Actually, जो भी हमारा bricks है, it depends the regional context, because when you are using bricks in Lucknow, then maybe it will go as a red brick. Maybe we can go in the Goa, so we have to make जो कि वहाँ की soil है उसके according bricks होगा. Recently now we are going to Mumbai, so in Mumbai we don't use red bricks. We have to evolve the technology and we have to use the technology in terms of fly ash brick. We have to, हमको लगातार उसको चेंज करते रहना पड़ेगा. जो ब्रिक एवोल्यूशन था एंड टेक्नोलॉजी एंड ट्रेडिशन के अकॉर्डिंग जो नया सिनेरियो है, नए मटेरियल टेक्नोलॉजी है, ज़रूरी नहीं कि हमें रेड ब्रिक ही यूज़ करना है. वी हैव टू चेंज आवर थॉट प्रोसेस इन टर्म्स ऑफ ब्रिक, एंड मे बी वी हैव टू ऐड मोर थिंग्स इनटू द ब्रिक्स.
Right. So brick has stand a test of time, and parallel it has been used widely, and there is a timelessness. So now about using the brick is more of a so my question to Hassan, because you are dealing with a lot of interior project and hospitality projects. So my question to over you, so using brick in a exposed way, the way it has been used in IIM, the way it is used in IIT Kanpur, and a lot of other modern buildings in parallel. The another way of like using brick for the ornamentation purpose only, like the way we do it for the exposed facade and the interiors. So what's your take on it? Like, is it really a wise way to use it against its properties of timelessness? Just for the ornamentation?
I think brick is a material which has been widely used since we are in humans are building.
Right.
So I think it's not a very bad idea to use bricks. But yes, we can always experiment with the ways we use it. Like we also use bricks for the shading purposes, and like the bricks are made, there are a lot of other building materials or products that are made, like mud jalis that are used as screens nowadays. We see in a lot of projects, and there are other lot of things which are being the brick is used in a very new parametric patterns.
Very true. Right.
And it's not always to do the ornamentation, but always climatically also, like Gaurav sir said, at a lot of places, in the regional context where it
Very true.
fits. So I think it's not a bad idea to use bricks.
Okay, so we are more of a talking about the traditional materials parallelly and how technology evolved and how we are using it in the contemporary times. So now my question to us, like, so there are a lot of traditional materials, and we have a lot of contemporary challenges to deal with. The like the in the previous discuss we discussed about the spans, mainly the bigger spans we are building now. So how you synchronize both the things using the traditional material within a sync with the technology, and parallelly for the purpose that require a lot of technology and lot of like a contemporary kind of a solutions to it. So how you sync both the things and how you are using it in your projects mainly?
I think your question itself has a few links to the answers. When you say that, how do you use those materials with technology? Technology itself is the answer. So when we talk about spans, when we talk about the usage of materials, so there are multiple aspects to it. For example, when we look at the constructability of it, technology plays the most important role. So for example, we make use of BIM. As a conscious studio, we try to inculcate BIM in most of our pet projects. And that makes the life as an architect easy, as well as the life of the site team easy as to how that material is being used and in what way. The impact of that material with respect to the load, and also the impact of that material with respect to the life cycle analysis that we calculate with respect to the carbon footprint, we also get it generated. So you must have seen, if you have recently flown through the Hyderabad airport, they claim as to be the India's first carbon neutral airport of today's time in India. So that word itself, carbon neutral, is a very wide aspect. And if you go into the depth of carbon neutrality, then you realize that how do you use materials, and for example, to start with brick, in a different way. Brick can be of different types. You go to Mauritius, you go to New Zealand, you go to Dubai, you go to Andhra Pradesh, you just go to Faizabad. The brick is going to be different. How do you use that brick is of a different nature. The characteristic of that brick is of a different nature. So it's all about technology, how you use technology to use that same very brick of different nature into your structure.
Very nicely done, very nicely. So from your answer itself, you just initiated another set of conversation, like you're using BIM for BIM as a technology. So it's not the innovation has not happened over time in just the materials only. There's a lot of innovation happened over time in the way we design itself. So now my question is to Aditya, like, so Mr. Aditya, like we as an architects, like, and you design, so we are seeing a lot of technological options we have adopted with time, and parallelly looking at a material as a traditional component and designing as a technological part. So how you are more of a solving this problem of design by using the technology in your air conditioning vertical mainly?
So I would, in the last 2 years, there's greater focus on two things. One is the energy efficiency, and the other one is with respect to the air quality inside, especially post the pandemic. So coming from the air conditioning point of view, today there's a greater focus on the kind of air quality in the conditioned space. And we at Blue Star have an entire range of indoor units which you can choose from. And so that you design the system. We design the system today where there's a lot of fresh air coming in at the same, so that this air circulation is on. And at the same time, coming to your discussion on brick versus, like if I have to say brick versus glass, from an air conditioning point of view, glass only increases the load. So So in terms of the air conditioning capacity, it actually increases it, but then we still prefer having a brick wall any day to a glass. It's a better air conditioned space and it cools the whole office space much better.
So you are saying more of a like you prefer the brick over the glass for a kind of a more of a designing it ultimately. Okay. So so now the like my question to Amish sir. So there's this one component. The one component is like using a traditional material that are more of a raw and more of a timeless ultimately. Parallelly, there is a modern materials that is like I would say the structural glazing or a glass or these kind of materials, which is like so how you like comprehending more of a what you choose more of and how you're comprehending both the component with respect to its purpose and its more of a the building usage mode.
See, as a designer, there are a lot of variables when we talk about a project. Suppose these 5 fingers, we have 5 variables. So now the individual architect's choice becomes that which of the two I would like to pull my strings on and where the rest of the three I would give some leeway. You know? So I believe when we are choosing material, primarily it becomes the choice of the project and choice of the architect as well. I would personally, any day, I'll choose which I can go to the site and dig and take it out. For me, the primary objective of having a localized material is that means the khodu aur wo mujhe mil jaye. We have been building with mud, but that means I'm not a propagator of muds or bricks or anything like that. The project also has certain demands. So if I have to put glass, of course I will put it. But then that's where my intelligence or my design sensibility would come into picture. That then his role comes into picture. The moment I replace a brick wall with a glass wall, that means now there is a technology involved. कि अब air conditioning कैसे होने वाली? So I will always have this agenda of tradition over technology because for me, the moment I start doing something with the project, there is a guy behind my back with the technology banner. इधर shaft छोड़, इधर outdoor लगाने की जगह छोड़ो, इधर sprinkler लगाओ. You realize no? So for me, design is very basic. कागज उठाओ, pencil उठाओ, बनाना शुरू करो. But now because of the pressure of technology and the kind of advancements people are doing in softwares even, हम कहाँ बनाते थे? और अभी buildings कौन से software बनते हैं? I can't even pronounce the name of the things. So that means, for me, design would always be basic design, and then these guys are helping me add value to the design. So that is where I choose my material and my softwares and my technological people smartly. I don't have to do the job; they'll do it for me.
So one more thing I wanted to add, just because of you, because आपने जैसे बोला कि हम glass लगेगा, then we have to make more load. Recently, क्या आपने कभी analysis किया कि किसी भी architect का कोई design आया and you just start to analyze the sir what material you used in the flooring, what material used in the walls, then you will take the analysis how much load you have to take in for that building. Like any kind of MEP, any kind of structure, because many of the buildings like in Lucknow, when we are talking about Lucknow in terms of traditional, maybe some of architects are designing with the traditional, maybe some of architects is designing with the more into the technology, but maybe the project location is the same, like in lots of building in Lucknow, lots of building in surrounded in Lucknow. Then how do you decide to start that taking the load for that building, like AC, like electricity, any kind of thing? Because it works because when you start with the traditional, then you have to reduce the any kind of technology in times of any kind of MEP. And how do you start?
The basic working of the air conditioning starts with the load calculation, which is based on quite a few factors.
But like you have to start taking load in the area as you study
that's what
the materials.
The air-conditioned space, also considering the orientation of the building, the glass with respect to the orientation, then whether it's a brick wall, the thickness, all this play a role. So it's always like that. And then we go to the next, of course, this first is the load calculation, and then we go to the next stage of choosing the type of indoor unit, the kind of system we should be proposing to the client based on the segment, that is what kind of application is it? Is it for a school, or is it for a school, or is it for a hospital? Then within the hospital there are rooms, operation theaters which need specific air quality, different system in place. So all that comes into play, and then we choose the indoor system.
So then, what you suggest as a technology with traditional?
See, technology, so that today there are a lot of energy efficiency, and then parallelly today all architects are also conscious on the ratings, green building. So the refrigerant side, we are now with eco-friendly refrigerant. Then to save on the power, we are giving the inverter driven technology, which is more power saving. And this unit start right from inverter ducted units to VRF and even screw chillers or centri chillers. So everything, every range, we have products. But then the basic, everything starts with the calculation of the load, which is starting with your floor plan.
So more of a
where we
you are
start the discussion.
while designing all these things, while designing all the air conditioning things, you are considering the materials itself along with the space and
We
everything.
definitely consider the wall. So within, like, if I have to say, for us, air conditioning, even if you have a wall or a glass within an air conditioned space, for me, it doesn't make a difference. But the same thing when it's a wall or a glass exposed to the sun, it makes a difference.
Okay, so now my question to you, Gaurav, like you are into practice, so for a young practices, for a next gen practices, so how you are more of adopting the technologies? What technologies you are more of using, and how you are overlapping all the technology with your traditional way of designing or executing a project more of it?
Right now, like I'm trying to use in my buildings lots of technology like structural system. First, I start like if I'm going with the PT slab or any kind of structure system, because right now when I'm going to the interior projects right now, after the some of the architects or clients had done with the columns, then I suggest कि starting से ही आप अगर architects को traditional technology को use से better अगर आप अपने projects में उसके इंटीरियर रिक्वायरमेंट्स या उसके प्रोजेक्ट रिक्वायरमेंट के हिसाब से स्ट्रक्चर सिस्टम डिजाइन करेंगे. स्ट्रक्चर सिस्टम लाइक नॉट वी आर गोइंग विद द वॉल्स एंड आर्चेस सिस्टम. लाइक राइट नाउ टाइम इज चेंजिंग, वी हैव टू यूज मोर प्रोजेक्ट्स कि जिसमें हम लोग स्ट्रक्चर सिस्टम को चेंज करें, उसके साथ साथ टेक्नोलॉजी को भी चेंज करें. बिकॉज इन लखनऊ, इन lots of metro cities, we have lots of materials to use with technology. Like abhi in some basic issues hain in Lucknow, it's like facade system. Like this is the complete.
So I would say, like, very simply, I expect you to like say what technologies you are using, adopting now in designing and executing a project. So just name the technologies, and we would like so what are feasible over here, and how like what are the exactly the name of technologies mainly I'm expecting you.
I'm just say we can use as a column free space as a pre-stressed slab. Okay. We can take as a bigger structures. And for the interiors, we have to use to the material wala jo concept hai na, which Bhoi sir started the practice, like exposed concrete, exposed brick, and exposed wood, and exposed any kind of the finishes. Right now, when I studied from the history, from the traditional, every architect start the project with these structural materials, and this was the interior products. Like we are using waffle slab, then concrete finished waffle slab, and painted and finished the project. But right now, किसी भी प्रोजेक्ट में स्ट्रक्चर सिस्टम को छुपाने के लिए, स्लैब की प्रॉब्लम को छुपाने के लिए, वी आर बायस्ड टू दी फॉर द इंटीरियर मटेरियल्स. वी जस्ट वांटेड टू ऐड कि किसी भी प्रोजेक्ट्स में हमको अगर डिज़ाइन करना है तो स्टार्टेड विद दी मटेरियल्स, कि स्ट्रक्चर सिस्टम में ही हम अपने ऐसे मटेरियल को सजेस्ट कर लें कि क्लाइंट्स का भी पैसा बचे और प्रोजेक्ट भी आपका इस तरह से निकल कर आए कि.
So I am just transferring a question, the same thing to Amit sir also. Like so how because he mentioned this traditional systems of building construction, he mentioned the architecture kind of a thing, and you are working over those mainly components. So how you are able to solve these problems with this traditional method of construction?
See, these are methods of construction. That does not mean that they are not technologically driven. No? If I have to cover a 50-meter wide span and I'm proposing a vault for it, that means we have goddamn worked really hard to resolve that. How do we do that roof without using any steel member there?
Yeah.
But it's not that we are only doing arcuated systems. Not me primarily, anybody. You get to notice these walls, these arches, these bricks, or the mud work because not everybody is doing that. So what I like to call them is not tradition. I always call them as alternative. You know, there is a mainstream construction industry going on in a specific direction, and what I'm trying to do is something which is alternative, and I'm pushing that let's make this alternative as much closer to the mainstream as possible, and that is where the technology people have to come to the front, because right now, I mean, I'm so sorry, but you asked the question, he started pitching all his products. No? That. So that is where the technology people have a certain market to adhere to, and they have, of course, they have money to propagate that technology. I have to sadly call my work as an alternative because I have a smaller audience which I cater to. Plus, the technology is not in our favor. No, have you ever come across? See, I have to choose. या तो मैं ये वाला मशीन लूंगा या ये वाला लैमिनेट लूंगा. कभी ऐसा हुआ कि मैं एक प्रोजेक्ट लेके गया, बोला अभी इसका इंडोर आउटडोर डिजाइन करो मेरे लिए, मेरे को 1.532 टन का मशीन चाहिए. यू रियलाइज माय पॉइंट नो? बिकॉज यू फेस चैलेंजेस, प्रोडक्शन का प्रेशर कि भाई ट्रेड में ऐसे 5-6 वैल्यूज रखो जिसको रेप्लिकेट करेंगे. ये पर्सनली एज एन आर्किटेक्ट आई बिलीव टेक्नोलॉजी कई बार मुझे थोड़ा सा बांध देती है कि यार ये तो करना ही पड़ेगा, इतना लोड आएगा तो इतने के लिए एयर कंडीशनिंग करनी पड़ेगी. और फॉर मी इट्स वेरी प्योर, इट्स एन इंस्टिंक्टिव डिजाइन प्रोसेस. हमने खींच दिया वो बन गया.
It's not only the
but
air conditioning.
just to answer your point again, you might say I'm pitching a product.
No, I'm so sorry.
But
Don't
then,
take it the wrong way.
So yeah, we do have a fixed nomenclature in terms of tonnage. What you were saying about 1.5 to the next one, you know. But when today you have a VRF system or even inverter ducted, wherein the percentage of capacity can vary at 10% to 100% at different levels. Even if your indoor unit is slightly oversized because we are not able to come to the closest this thing, in terms of working of the unit and your power consumption, it will definitely reduce and it will work to its capacity. It's not going to run at a higher capacity.
हमारे जो clients हैं ना वो बहुत गरीब होते हैं.
So we have a solution, but then everything, I mean, obviously it is a mix between balancing between the...
if I can solve my temperature diurnal range problems by orienting my building in the right way, at digging the right amount of soil to get inside the footprint of my building, approximately 4.5 feet inside the ground, I'm able to solve. But now what is happening is, in spite of all these traditional alternative methods, we still have to rely on you. Because I can't, शुतुरमुर्ग की तरह मैं अपनी खोपड़ी को रेत में डाल दूं और बोल नो technology doesn't exist. It doesn't work like that.
And we are happy to design and even work from the initial stage because we believe in design and build. So we have a good team of engineers who are happy to work on your drawings.
Yeah, so like since we are more of a discussing about the next gen technology, next gen kind of a thing. So for if we talk about the next gen thing ultimately, so there comes like a lot of new technology coming into the place, like a lot of like a 3D printing, like of AR, VR, augmented reality, mixed reality. So a lot of technological options in terms of the architects as a construction. We are more of a they're all already in the market more of a. So Hassan, to you, so how you find it relevant in context of Lucknow? So using, do you think so in the next 20 years, 3D printing would be possible in Lucknow? Or you agree with that or you disagree with that? These kind of a technology which are more of a so-called as a global technologies in the next gen thing for the future of design or future of construction. So you, what's your take on it?
Like why should we talk about in the next 20 years? Why not next year? Or maybe why not this year? It depends upon how adaptive we are as architects, as the end users, right? Everything becomes, anything becomes useful to us only if we can adopt it. And we can only adopt it if it's useful to us.
So you're saying that so in the next few years, we would be able to 3D print the houses in Lucknow? You find it feasible option?
I think it's not a question about feasibility, it's feasible or not feasible. It always depends upon, the sources that we have, whether they are workable. Yes, financial feasibility counts a lot at these things. But most of the times when things start, they don't start out of feasibility or anything. Good things always start out of passion. Like someone decides to do it. For example, Harsh, if he decides to do it, that I want to make a 3D printed house in Lucknow, and he does it.
So you say these kind of
it gives it
technologies
a
could be
kickstart.
easily possible and adopted more often in the context of Lucknow itself.
I think might be a case of awareness, but Lucknow is having a technological advancement. Uh, if you land into the city, just before landing, you see a lot of gray and orange color buildings coming up. So that's one of the technology of stay in place technologies that's being promoted by the government that we are doing right now. So it's not about Lucknow is far away. The buildings are ready to be completed next year. And it's not only 3D printing, what you're saying. So 3D printing also depends on, for example, in Mauritius, they're doing a redevelopment exercise wherein they have to do 8,000 houses. And for 8,000 houses, they know that physically you can't build those 8,000 houses one by one on island, blah, blah, blah. So they're using a 3D volumetric technology, wherein they're bringing in the volumes, the cubes built in, and they're going to place it there. Lucknow is having the stay in place. Indore is having something else. Agartala, there are 6 cities that were identified by the government of India, and all 6 of them are going to finish next year. So we take pride in saying that yes, technology is where the future lies, and we have to use that. And it's not about. I slightly differ with the point that you said that हम technology हम services छुपाना चाहते हैं.
Obviously,
हाँ,
everybody wants to make as a cover.
नहीं, यही मैं कह रहा हूँ, मतलब यही मैं पॉइंट कह रहा हूँ. फॉर एग्जाम्पल सर, आप लोग के लिए हमेशा चार्ल्स कोरिया मतलब वर दी आइकन्स. हमारे लिए रिचर्ड रॉजर्स एंड नॉर्मन फॉस्टर्स हैं जो
We have, see, his career is not of this decade nor
it's timelessness.
timeless.
Yes.
And he has been able to do it.
Yes.
See, to design a project, it's very easy.
Yes.
To get it built is the real job.
So-
And he alone in Maharashtra was having such a good reputation as an architect, and all his buildings are based on some region or the other. See, actually what has happened is that we have been able to not write our history down. We will always call somebody from Italy, somebody from France. I have seen myself those buildings, and I have seen South Indian temples. See, South Indian temples are much, much, much better. Vastu was first of all used by Lee Corbusier. No, sorry, Charles Corey.
Charles Korea.
So, see, because they are not quietly now projected in their textbooks, so we don't know. I have taken training with Charles Corrier's office. I know how well spent were those 6 months, and again 2 months. You get ingrained. He was following Lee Corbusier like anything. I was studying in Chandigarh College of Architecture. So each day, some building or other will come into my way, and because cameras were not, I used to sketch those buildings by sitting there. So all these things are ingrained. See, actually, when you discuss these things, an architect probably, when analyzing the project, will always discuss the spaces, the area, bylaws, and even what material are to be used, and how much. And architects never used to tell at our time what will be the cost of the building.
Right, sir.
So उसी point पे ना सर जी.
Estimates were pronounced as guesstimates.
Correct.
See? And always the architect will have a fight with the owner when the last bill is to be paid. तुमने मेरा इतना कॉस्ट बढ़ा दिया.
So उसी पॉइंट पे मैं कह रहा था कि टेक्नोलॉजी हम कह रहे हैं छुपाने के लिए. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल यू गो टू सेंटर पोम्पिडू पेरिस, रिचर्ड रॉजर्स. That building is the finest building that at least I can personally stare at that building the entire day, and I did that recently 2 months back. You sit down there, you see how all the HVAC ducts have not been hidden. They're right on the facade. They're put on different colors. The diffusers, the cable trays, each and everything. That is where you say that yes, engineering is also important, and that's the nuts and bolt of any successful building. So छुपाने की जरूरत नहीं है, that's an architect's choice. So कुछ बिल्डिंग में छुपाओ, कुछ बिल्डिंग में मत छुपाओ, ठीक है? If for example, if Center Pompidou is one example in Paris, you see Norman Foster's Apple Studios in Marina Bay Sands, or anywhere across Europe, wherein you see that line of glass hitting that false ceiling so fine that you wonder seeing that ये glass कैसे खड़ा हुआ है, कोई एक vertical element तक नहीं है. But again, how is that done? By using technology. If we don't use technology, it can't be done.
So Hers,
technology.
Yeah, Gaurav, let me to moderate. Huh? So we mentioned even you were talking about Pompidou, you were talking about the Rogers, and Roger himself said we evaluate the building based on our past. We design it for we do construct it in the present, and we imagine it for the future. So even if we talk about the Rogers building itself, so they are more of a evolved from the traditional way, more of evolved from the past, and doing wonders in the present, and imagine for the future itself.
What I would like to say for Rogers, for example, if you see the cheese grater in London, for me personally, there's a very sensible audience sitting. They might say I'm wrong, but in those buildings, I don't see any past in that. I might completely go wrong, but that's how I perceive. The cheese grater in London or the Center Pompidou, there is nothing past in it. He's envisaged the future. And that is where we see that that personality could see what the future lies, what the future wanted, what the people's aspirations were. If you see two buildings of his right next to each other, that's the London Stock Exchange and the cheese grater, you see that the building he designed 30 years back, and I did a dissertation on that, the 30 years back, the building he designed was completely different to the cheese grater that was one of his last buildings of his life. So, वो personality, वो एक architect की responsibility है to understand the user's needs. If that user needs do not fit into what the past was, there is no need for the past to come in. It's always about the future, it's always about the present. Use the technology, do what you have.
Very wisely, more of a concluded, Harsh. So I think we are learning in the last lap of this panel discussion. So so my question to all the panelists more of a, so what is a next gen thing, what is the next big thing you're looking into the construction, you're looking into the architecture, and that is going to transform the whole ecosystem of architecture and construction. So this is the question for all the panelists. So I'm coming to Amish, sir, what's your take on this? What's the next gen thing which is going to transform the whole ecosystem, which you think?
The data which the technology is making available to us. So all the decisions that an architect takes is based on some sort of data, some sort of research. So primarily for me, the wonders that the technology is doing is that it's making all the data which will enable me to take a design decision on the top of my fingers. No? I don't have to rely back on the traditional ways of doing a survey and getting the drawing done. If I need a decadal data, decadal temperature variation data, it's right there. So I believe that technology will enable me to put the design, and then it becomes my choice. After I have designed the space, then it becomes my choice or my client's choice or my project's brief that how do I want to execute that project. And of course, I still use technology, but then to what extent? And those variables are in my control.
Basically, जो टेक्नोलॉजी है in terms of design, जैसे हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं कि हमको कौन सा नया टेक्नोलॉजी यूज करना है, नहीं करना है, but it's very much demanding into the context. Like if we are going with the project in some of the place in the India, तो वहाँ की टेक्नोलॉजी क्या है? First we have to adopt, then we have to design, and after that we have to approve from the government. Then again we have to stop. Then we have to change the technology. Then I think according to me, we have to educate as well as technology, as well as the government officials also, who has to...
Yeah, so my question is very specific. Which next gen technology or next gen thing which you think will transform the whole ecosystem of construction architecture according to you, more of?
Yeah, obviously we have to use more economical materials in the construction technologies. We have to use more relevant,
so you mean to say frugal innovation in terms of that is guiding the whole thing?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
First, over to you.
I think it doesn't have a simple answer to what you asked. We as architects, when we talk about the designers, the next gen, we have a lot of responsibility when it comes to designing for the people, for example. So for the people, when I say for the people, it's not only the requirements, but also the client's money. So टेक्नोलॉजी सिर्फ एक वो नहीं है कि ये टेक्नोलॉजी यूज करी, नहीं, इट हैज टू बी अ कल्मिनेशन ऑफ various aspects. For example, even this carpet that we see in front of us, what is the source of this carpet? What's the carbon emission that or the carbon footprint that this carpet is bringing to the building? And luckily or unluckily, I would say that in today's time, clients have that knowledge. Clients expect it from us that whatever we design has to be environmentally sustainable, socially sustainable. And that's why I use the word socially sustainable. Everything is not environment, but social sustainability is also a part of the entire game changer that is happening. So technology will be cumulative. Technology will not only be about HVAC systems, it will also be about the carpet, it will also be about the door, it will also be about the steel, or the hybrid structure that we may use for a long or for a big span structure. So technology has to be cumulative. We need to see multiple facets of technology, how we use the engineering to use technology into our buildings. And yes, that problem is going to exist, that वो पीछे एक आदमी होगा जो कहेगा शाफ्ट लगाओ, but हमें ये देखना है वो शाफ्ट के बिना हमारी बिल्डिंग नहीं चल सकती. तो वो, and if we need to make that building successful, that integration of architecture with engineering has to happen with the use of technology, and that technology can't be limited. It's unlimited.
Perfect. So like, so you mean to say this engineering and sustainability, you mentioned more of it. Yeah. So Hassan, over to you.
I think the requirements and the problem solving abilities that we have in today's time, and those abilities, they are possible because of the technology only. And technology is the only thing that is changing the course of times, and it will keep changing them. So I think that's the only, the solutions which we get today, 99% of solutions are possible because of the technology that we have today. So that's the main thing that's affecting.
Okay. Yeah. So Aditya ji, like, so what do you think in terms of your domain? So we don't expect a good pitch from your side, but yes, the conclusive words to end the discussion.
As far as the air conditioning is concerned, the key this thing will be the in terms of energy efficiency, both in terms because the government itself is very conscious, especially with the penetration of air conditioning and the increase of air conditioning. And today, air conditioning is not only, earlier it was only cooling. Today it's also heating. So
right.
The number of hours you are using or consuming electricity is increased. So the government is also very conscious on this, and there will be the demand for high energy efficient units will increase. Of course, this will result in an increase in the cost of the project, but definitely you will see that savings coming in during the operation.
Okay, so you mean to say the energy consciousness is a main thing, like that?
Yes,
that could drive the whole thing.
Is very conscious on it. In fact, just because of this pandemic, there is a extension of almost 2 years. Otherwise, a lot of regulations would have been on board at the start of this year itself. Now we are looking at another 3 months to 4 months. So even in the commercial air conditioning space, you'll have star rating coming in. So higher energy COPs and all that will be in place.
So okay, perfect. So like more of a so we discussed all the aspects of mainly radiation technology, and also I'm just ending this conversation from our side more of a by the quote of Franco Gehry, like architecture should speak about its time, but yearn for timelessness more of it. So that is a one thing, that is a more of a conclusion. Parallelly, anybody from the audience can ask questions. Yeah.
I think you asked a very, very, very interesting question. What technology is going to be a game changer in architecture? I think nobody has talked about metaverse. Let's say if we think about metaverse, I think it is going to be a phenomenal game changer in terms of how we build, how people experience spaces, what do they expect out of spaces. So I was thinking this new generation will at least talk about metaverse. Nobody did. So I thought I'll just pitch in and talk about it.
That's why, sir, we need seniors.
Yeah. So I was thinking eventually Rahul will eventually end it with that, because I feel when we were watching the movie Inception like few years back, I distinctly remember how one scene goes into another and another and another, and there are layers, and what you're experiencing, sometimes it's very difficult to define. And whenever I look at the concept of metaverse, I think the moment people in general start experiencing more of spaces in virtual reality, they will be expecting too much more, so much more than what we give them as architects today. And technology then will be our only savior, to create that experience. It will stop being about what we see. It will be more about what we feel, what we experience in a space. And that if we can create, and I think all of us, I don't know whether we will be able to do that, but I am assuming that you guys should at least be able to.
Yeah, I'm trying to ask this, like the triggering it out, but so yeah.
Okay, so I'll start from the first question. You asked which material, and you started discussing about the brick, and I said stone. Okay, now I'll prove why stone. Now, if you tell me you are all architects from Lucknow, and there are so many architects from Lucknow, maximum buildings of today were constructed in last 10 years are brickless houses. There's not a single brick in that houses. So I say the technology has finished the brick. It should have been finished. Interior में लगा लो यार, जैसा fascia बनाना, that's fine. Brick is non-sustainable. It is just you are digging the earth, and now that has been absolutely gone in the past. Maybe used for a little bit of this fascia aesthetics and all those treatments, but the technology has taken it over. So it is now the brickless houses and monolithic technology. You know it about very well.
I think बच्चों की ragging नहीं लेंगे.
I think we covered the base that it becomes the choice of the architect first. As I told that I'd like to build from what we dig. So primarily I always want to build from mud. But then, like he said, no, that sustainability is not only social or economical. It has a lot more aspects to it. So suddenly, where we face problems, especially in this belt where we are working in the northern plains, here the bricks are still relevant, but only here. क्योंकि अभी भी यहाँ पे थोड़ी बहुत मिट्टी है. और जब हम मिट्टी को stabilize करने जाते हैं, and the cost of that stabilized mud blocks increase, and then they are further expensive than the regular bricks, then the economical sustainability part of the project comes into picture. कि just because we want to be alternative, that does not mean कि खोदो और चाहे जितना महंगा पड़े इसी मिट्टी से बनाओ. So that means it again becomes a bargain, give and take. कि कहाँ कर सकते हैं, कहाँ नहीं कर सकते.
It is always going to be a difficult choice.
Even for the brick is still as an alternative for all the masses mainly.
So good evening everyone. My question is to the Amit sir. Sir, when we talk about traditional design, so traditional design is linked with our Vastu Shastra or not?
That is my choice. No? What is traditional design, I mean to say? What is traditional design? Just because a building looks like something which used to look like 300 years ago, that is traditional design? I mean, that's what you want to say?
No, I want to say that what all the things in Vastu we have.
No, I don't believe in Vastu. Full stop.
Because sir, I'm not an architect, being an HVAC engineer, some points of Vastu is favorable to us so that the load of the building is low.
That is science. See, I will always accept few tenets of Vastu which are in accordance with my belief system, which is completely scientific. इस orientation से solar gain होने वाला है. वास्तु भी कह रहा तो good. नहीं कह रहा तो यार ये वास्तु शास्त्री बेकार है, हटाओ. दूसरा लाओ. Literally, I have seen the kind of story he has. I have seen that I will be doing completely opposite of what Vastu has suggested, and the client would come up with a bloody pyramid and he'll say, "Idhar laga do," and it's taken care of. So Vastu Shastra for me is a superstition.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all your patience.
Thank you so much for that session. Please have a huge round of applause for our next gen panelists. For the felicitation, I would like to call Mr. Amit Pandey, Branch Head, Havells India, and Mr. Indrajit Sauji to please join us on stage. And that wraps up Design Debate Lucknow edition. What a joy it has been. You guys have been a lovely audience, and I would especially like to thank our guest of honor, Mr. Bhui, all our esteemed panelists, as well as all of you guests for being so patient and making it here with us this evening. From me and the entire team at ITP, I would also like to thank our sponsors, presenting partner Havells India, HVAC partner Blue Star, category partner Fundamax, and exhibit partner Duro. Thank you for all your support. Lucknow, you have been warm, welcoming, and lovely. We hope to see you again.